They try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge of name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life matters is the cry we sing for the ones they try to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives we can't just weep. Elected power, but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life matters, the cry we sing for the ones they try to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight. The heroes undo the harm. Calling out corruption, we'll stand tall for justice and truth, we'll risk it all. My life matters, the cry we sing. Together we rise, let freedom ring.
Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to Wednesday night with Social Change Warriors. I'm Catherine Felton Page, your host and founder of Social Change Warriors, the advocacy channel. We are glad to be back on another Wednesday, and it's going to be a good night tonight for those of you that like to swear, because on Wednesdays we swear. That's what we like to do on Wednesdays. We give ourselves permission to say some swear words for those of us that normally choose not to swear very often. But some nights we need to do that. We need to be able to break down some of these cases that we're following and advocating for and just talk them out and say what we need to say. Thursdays, we'll stick to the police reports and calling out corruption. And Fridays, we'll look at the trials and we'll go over the witnesses. But Wednesdays, this is our night. Men are welcome. Men can be bitches too. So don't take that the wrong way. Don't take the Angry Bitch Club as an all women's club, because we're not. We are very welcoming to any man or men that want to come on with us on Wednesday nights and talk whatever we need to talk about, whatever's upsetting us, making us mad, pissing us off, and say some swear words. So men, you are welcome as much as women on Wednesday nights. So we are Social Change Warriors. For those of you that are new to our channel tonight, welcome. To everyone that is not new, welcome back. Always so wonderful to see you live with me, telling me your opinions and your thoughts. Those of you on replay, don't be shy. We haven't had a lot of comments on the replay. I would love to see more comments. So please replay, tell us your thoughts. Criticism is welcome. Good things are welcome. Share us out, subscribe to us, give us a like. We are doing this as volunteers. We are doing this for the families to advocate for their loved ones who have been taken from this planet by the hands of someone else, and they don't have justice. So we are live streaming for justice. And on Wednesdays, this is our night to talk about some of those cases that mean so much to us because we've gotten to know their families. We've been given the privilege and the permission to live stream about them. And we need a night that we can just, bees got a buzz. So this is our Wednesday to buzz. Now, normally we are open to talking about anything and everything, but tonight we are going to have a special episode because the Karen Read case is a case that just ceases to amaze me. I can't get over it. Just when I say what can happen next, something happens next. And just when I say or talk about this with some of you off air when we have our chats, and we do, how could this get any crazier? How could this get any worse for Karen Read or worse for John O'Keefe? And it does. It just keeps getting crazier and worse. And now we've got magic and science being combined together by a PhD scientist, biomedical engineer. What else are we going to see, guys? I don't know anymore. I really don't. I'm just beyond shocked. Welcome to everybody live tonight with me. Hello, my sweet Shauna. Welcome. Great to see you live. Hello, Bert. You are funny. Hey, I'm a little punchy, Bert. I just got off the road. I've been on the road with Tanner, working my way from Wisconsin back down to Florida because I can absolutely not have back surgery right now. I have to put it off. I'm going to have to cope with the sciatica and take my 800 milligrams of ibuprofen, lay off my once a week wine and or Corona that I like to have with Friday Night Lies until I can get this under control. But I just could not stay there and do surgery now. It just wasn't in my agenda. So Tanner and I have been on the road. We drove through thunderstorms, lightning, you name it. We had to crash early outside of Chattanooga because there was a really bad storm that came over from Texas. So we did that. And now we finally made it to my wonderful friend Barb Solin's place in the beautiful North Georgia mountains. So what's back of me is nothing but a forest. It's beautiful. And she lives out in the middle of Nowheresville, like us city girls like to call it. But I love me some country. Don't get me wrong. I love the country. I love camping. I grew up camping and with the Girl Scouts and the Lutheran Girl Pioneers, and I love camping. But I don't know if I could live out here like this, like Mom Solon. And Pop Solon just passed, and you all know I was at his funeral in Superior, Wisconsin, right after I hurt my back, and we had to say goodbye to her dear husband of 67 years and the parents of my dear friend Daryl. And you've heard me talk about Daryl a lot. He was my dispatcher, one of my dispatchers at UWPD. We became like best of friends. He was my ride or die, and he lost his life to a massive heart attack at 62. Just a couple years ago. And that was Mom and Pop's only son. Their daughter, Shelly, is still with us. And I got to see Shelly up in Superior. But Daryl was just a great guy, wicked smart, as you Bostonians like to say. And like I said, one of my dearest friends I could have ever hoped to have had. And I wanted to keep having him until we were well into our 80s. We had all these plans of what we were going to do when we got in our 70s and 80s. And that's not happening. So it's tough in a way to be here. So if I get a little weepy tonight at times, please forgive me. I'm staying in Daryl's room. I'm at Daryl's desk, and his mom is just the dearest, sweetest, kindest person ever. And so I'm going to visit here with her for a few days before I make the last 6.5 hour trek to my place in Florida, because I got things to do down there. But I am definitely overtired. So please don't take anything I say too seriously tonight. I may be swearing more than I normally do. Julie is here with us. I'm about to bring her on the platform because we're going to just jump right into this Magic Science Guy Act. And I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. So I made Julie her own thumbnail today for her because she's been so great on Friday Night Lies and everything to do with Karen Read. So she got her own thumbnail today, her and the Nagel blob. I called her a blobologist, a blogologist last week. It's a blobologist. So we're going to bring Julie up here onto the platform with us. And there she is. Hello, Julie.
Hey, everybody. What the fuck was today and yesterday? Cheers, everybody. I had to lay down for an hour and a half because my blood pressure skyrocketed. I was like, what the fuck? I thought Tuba Paul was bad. whenever I think I said to you guys yesterday, it was like, I don't want to live in a world where we have Trooper Paul saying, well, at least Trooper Paul said this and said that. This is entirely too much. I gotta stop.
Oh, Shauna, break it out, baby. It's the Angry Bitch Club. You don't have to just say F. You can say it, Shauna. We know you don't swear because you're so sweet and you're so wonderful. But let it
I get
rip.
the text that's
Let it
otherwise.
rip, Shauna. Shauna says, hi, Bert. And yes, Julie, we're getting you to fly down and we're going to have a standout in Orlando because Bert's coming over from Tampa. I'm coming over from Daytona Beach. Shauna's coming up from parts unknown in South Florida. And we're going to recruit everybody else that we know in the Karen Reed movement that lives in Florida. We're going to have a big old standout. I got to get this organized. We got to get a hold of Brandy Churchwell. We got to get a hold of, there's a gal that's on Twitter with me, and her and I have gone back and forth a couple times, and she doesn't live very far from me either. She might be up in Jacksonville or St. Augustine. I don't know, but we got to get this organized, Bert. We have to have a standout in Orlando sooner than later. We really do. So Julie, you got to fly down. Hi, Kathy. How are you? Sorry, I am straight out of Madison. I just got tweaked by what they told me about this surgery. And I'm like, no, I'm out of here. I literally left on Memorial Day. I was like, I cannot do this anymore. I'm out of here. I need my own bed, my own house. And I just packed up and my son came over and helped me load up and I left. So sorry to my friends in Madison because I kind of just left. I didn't tell anybody. And, but that's okay. Cause a lot of you were super busy while I was there. So sadly, my month in Madison was weird. It was probably the weirdest month I've ever had, honest to God. So that's a story for another day. All right, guys, let's get into this, Julie. So let me say, I have to say one thing and then I'm going to let you rip because I know how excited you are to get going on this. But let me say, everybody, please, everybody say this with me. John O'Keefe. John O'Keefe does not deserve this circle of hell that has been placed over him for the past 3.5 years. He did not deserve this. He was a good man. I don't think he was a great boyfriend. That's another show. That's the Men Are Dumb show. But I think he was a great guy all around and a very good police officer, no doubt. But he didn't deserve this. He did not deserve this circus that the CW put on him. Because let's say on some other planet like the moon, where Karen Reed's apparently shot off to, at least possibly shot off to. Let's just say she hit him. Okay. If she hit him, it was the worst, most miserable police investigation you could have ever done on the face of the planet to try to convict someone, to try to prove that Karen Reed hit him with her car. You couldn't have done a more miserable job if you got paid to do a miserable job or if somebody told you to do a miserable job, right? So, John, we're sorry. We're so sorry that you did not get what you deserved, which was a good, honorable, correct, authentic police investigation. We're so sorry for that, but we're going to keep fighting for justice for you, because we don't believe that Karen Reed hit you with her car. And even if she did, John, we're sorry because they effed up your police investigation, fucked up your police investigation so poorly that I don't see how anybody could ever be convicted. Even if they reopened your death investigation, how in the hell are they ever going to get enough evidence to bring anybody to justice? It's just a travesty, and we're so sorry for you. And I certainly hope that someone in your family comes up with some kind of scholarship for you at a police academy in Massachusetts, because you deserve to have your name on something where people can aspire to be a good cop, because we always want good cops in the line of duty. I worked with a lot of good cops. I also worked with some real assholes. And Daryl, I'm sitting in his room, so I would be remiss if I didn't say that I worked with some assholes, because Daryl was a good man, a good dispatcher, and there were some people at my police department that treated him like shit. And I will talk about that someday, because it's a story that should be told. And it's not fair to Daryl because nobody ever told it, and he didn't want to tell it because he knew it wouldn't matter. But it does matter, because my life mattered. That's what all of our victims say to us every day. Those that we love that have been unalived or that have passed away, my life mattered. So John O'Keefe, your life mattered, and we're going to continue to stand for justice for you. Now, before Julie gets us going and all the science, because she is my science and math girl, I am your journalism, social worker, ex-cop girl, but not my math and science. No, they were not my fortes. But I am so freaking happy that finally somebody said something about this effing Jeep that Jen McCabe and Matt McCabe and Brian Albert and Brian Higgins are ready to die on a hill for, that damn thing was parked in front of the mailbox at 34 Fairview. They swore to it on a stack of Bibles, one Bible. And by God, if finally he didn't say something. I was jumpy. I was in my car and I'm like yelling and screaming. Yes, he's finally bringing up the Jeep that Jen swore to God was parked in front of that damn mailbox. And how in the hell, if Karen Read drove her car backwards 87 feet, 24 miles an hour, did she not strike that Jeep? Right, guys? Come on. That was, to me, the best part of the whole damn day. Julie, what do you think about that?
Well, I think it means that we're going to get Higgy, because somebody needs to confirm what this Jeep was. I mean, Proctor doesn't look like he's coming, and I don't think it's worth it at this point to call him. But Higgy, give me Higgy on the stand. Yes.
I know you want Higgy, and you and we texted about this the other day with Shauna. You asked me personally, who, if you had to pick one, if you were the lawyer and you had to pick one, would you go Proctor or Higgy? And I told you, I almost feel I would have to go Proctor, only because until today, I felt like they really have to stick to the reasonable doubt. We all believe Karen Read did not hit John O'Keefe with her car, but there are many that don't, they're on the fence, or they just don't know. Like, they just don't know, because we don't know. Nobody's admitted to it and everybody's denied it. So only John O'Keefe knows who hit him with their car, or who beat him to death in the basement of 34 Fairview, or the garage of 34 Fairview, or the front yard of 34 Fairview. So because of all that, there's so much reasonable doubt. I was leaning towards, let's call Proctor. Let's make him say everything nasty, and all the police reports, all the witnesses are throwing him under the bus, saying Proctor wrote that wrong, or Proctor didn't put that in his report, or I didn't say that and Proctor said it. He added it. He put words in my mouth. So bring him up there and let's get the reasonable doubt just hammered into the jury, because Higgins isn't really going to give you, in my opinion, until today, as much reasonable doubt. But I still sort of feel that way, that if you had to pick one, you just really want to go with the reasonable doubt at this point. That was just my opinion. Now, Julie, tell us why you want Higgy on the stand.
I want to see Higgy so badly. Well, okay. I mean, I want to see him because I stopped at the liquor store the other day, just specifically. I mean, I got this so we could, because I thought Higgy was coming sooner, but I guess not. But then I got this as well. That's a little bottle of Tito's. So I could do my little puppetry of, hey, girl, you're hot. Am I hot for Hillside? Well, I don't know about that. You stink. You suck. Dipshit says what? So I could do my little puppetry. No, but really, for like what depends for the case. I mean, he's the one with the video evidence. Like, take everything off the plate. If you just look at the hard data, like what video actually shows, he seems to have the most motive, and he was not investigated in the least. So I would turn around and say reasonable doubt, because you didn't do a proper investigation, because you didn't check this asshole
right
through the high seas of Canton PD fixed hallway that wasn't on the high seas, but it looked like it was on the high seas when he was swaying in this way trying to catch his sea legs. I mean, what was he doing there? And there's just so much. So I want to see him on the stand to explain, like, hey, what are you doing in the waterfall? What are you doing at Canton PD? What are you doing to the lawyer? I thought he got a lawyer months afterwards. He got a lawyer, 3 days afterwards, and was talking to him. What were you doing at Canton PD the whole entire day? What were you doing? Butt dialing, but not butt dialing. I mean, it looks like he just woke up on that Saturday morning and drove to 34 Fairview before anybody called him. What was he doing then? So
it's crazy. It's crazy, Julie.
Lots of very suspicious behavior. So
yes,
I want to see him on the stand.
I would too. Now, I mean, I want them both. So I'm greedy. I want both of those MNFers on the stand, because they both lied through their teeth in trial one, and their behavior is so suspect. And yeah, I really want them both. Hey, MCAT, welcome. We're so happy to see you on a Wednesday. I was going to email you today that I left, that I had to go, but I just got on the road, I got distracted, and then I didn't get a chance to, because I wanted to tell you that I was going to go tonight because we just had to. I mean, if there's any night for the Angry Bitch Club, it's this scientist. I'm telling you. It's just both of them. I mean, Man Shannon could have been on a Wednesday night as well. We covered him last Friday Night Lives, but I called Julie from the road and I said, we're going tonight. We have to talk about this. I'm just so flabbergasted. That's my boomer word for the night on Boomer Radio. Welcome to Boomer and Generation X Radio, folks. Maybe we'll start our own radio station for all of us boomers and Generation X kids. And any of you that are younger, you're welcome too. But I love the word flabbergasted. I just don't even know what to say anymore, Julie. This case is so crazy. All right. What in the world? Where do we even start with this guy?
I'll tell you where we start with this guy. Hang on one second. I mean, this guy, again, we spoke with Shauna going back and forth, and I said, I was waiting, and like, I know everybody else was waiting too. Like, we were waiting, like, give us the reconstruction, give us the science, give us just something to explain how this works. And he got up there yesterday. We're gonna take a look. I mean, it's all jumped up. I have about 17 different times that we can talk about. And he got up there and basically said, I did the most. I took the most pictures. I made the most slides. And oh, by the way, she killed him. And that's my expert opinion, even though I'm not supposed to do it, but she killed him. She did it with her car, and it was definitely her. And look at me. I dressed up and I painted myself. Yay. And this is basically, let me see.
I almost ran myself over. Let's not leave that out.
Well, yeah, exactly. And then if you want to talk about my background and my CV, yeah, it takes a long time to get stuff, but you know what? I was working on it, and I have many, like it's almost like a parody. Like, he was going to start talking about Ron Burgundy. Like, yes, I have many leather-bound books, and my apartment smells of rich mahogany. I've published and I've volunteered people to back over my car, and that's not scholarly. That's psychopathy. Pretty sure that's what the definition is. But okay, wait a second. Let's see. I don't know where my microphone is, but this should be loud enough. This basically sounds up this guy in a nutshell. Oh no! Hang on. Wait a second. I sold it and then I lowered the volume. Hang on.
Wait, let me read out.
There it is. You hear that?
No, say it again.
Ready? Go ahead.
The man is a scuzzball.
That's Sophia Petrillo from the Golden Girls, just like I did last week with my Golden Girls sun visor, saying the man is a scuzzball, and he and Man Shannon should form Scuzzball Analytics and say they're hired guns to say that if they have a case against you, hire these guys, and they'll keep an open mind and they'll do all the things, but they will come to the conclusion, and they'll make it look. They'll do a whole bunch of smoke and mirrors, and they'll throw a whole bunch of shit in the way to make it look like you did the thing that you're being accused of, even though none of it is substance. And that's what we're going to go over. Where's the beef?
All right.
Bert, way back in the day, where's the beef?
Where's the beef? So Bert wrote, why did Alessi spend so much time on this when Karen was not hit by a car? It kind of legitimized the CW assertion that she did hit him.
What do you mean?
Well, Bert, that's not a bad observation. Here, I'm going to read it again so you can hear
it.
In the world, where do we even?
Okay,
are you there?
Yep. Oh, yeah. I'm still here. I'm just plugging in my phone.
Oh, you're fine. Bert says, why did Alessi spend so much time on this when Karen was not hit by a car? It kind of legitimized the CW's assertion that she did hit him. I think that's the observation, Bert. I think for this, just for me, though, is that because he has to undo what he did in the jury's mind. So what Hank did yesterday with all of his questioning and making him prove all of his bullshit, or try to prove all of his bullshit, Alessi's job is to come in and undo that. So he had to spend time on it because so much was presented. I mean, he was on the stand all day yesterday, and then like an hour today? Hour and a half?
Oh, no. He was on the stand the whole entire day today.
Oh, I mean with CW on direct.
Oh, yeah. So Hank just cleaned up. I think it was maybe 20, 30 minutes. I don't think it was a full hour.
He wasn't too long. But in
Yeah.
my opinion, Bert, he absolutely has to do it because he has to undo. And in case the jury was buying into that yesterday, because you know how it's presented on direct, that it's the best thing since sliced bread, and they don't know what's bad because Hank's not going to point out what's bad. That's up to the defense, right? So he has to undo that train wreck of what was presented yesterday to get the jury on track again, get the train back on the track. That's just my opinion. I don't know what the rest of you guys think. On replay, let us know, please, in the comments. That helps our algorithm as well to get us out there in the world. And all of you on live tonight, let us know. But good observation, Bert. I appreciate that a lot. Yes, MCAT, the next time I come back will be for the back surgery. So I should be back. I'll be sure back in July because of my mom's birthday. And I'm going to Coldplay in a wheelchair if I have to. I have tickets with my dear friend from high school, Michelle, and we're going to see Coldplay and geek out. And if I have to go in the wheelchair, I'll go in the wheelchair. So I'll email you well in advance so that we can try to meet up either on my way up or my way back, since you're just so close to being able to meet me somewhere near Rockford. Okay. So I need to get a techie person to teach me how to use the soundbar so that we can get Julie's Golden Girls sound bites, because that would be the best for the Boomer Network, is to use the Golden Girls sound bites.
The man is a scuzzball is right.
Yes. Okay. So let me go into the private chat where you have sent me what you would like me to play. Yes.
Yep. Yeah. So that's the main link we're gonna use tonight.
All right.
And I have all the times. I'll just tell you, because I mean a lot of them are like just to get a flavor of things, because I mean it's just like he's just entirely too much. Like I did the most, therefore I'm right. Doesn't work that way. Sorry.
Right. Okay, I have it. Hang on a second. I just got to come back into the room and share the platform here so you guys can see it too.
I think something big's coming. I mean, to Bert's point, I mean, why did Alessi spend so much time? He did it for two reasons. Number one, to poke holes in his whatever that was today. But number two, he had him on record saying certain things because he gets another bite of the apple. So he comes back after Arca comes back. Now, God knows what he's going to come back with, but he comes back after what Arca comes back with. So when he goes up on direct for the second time, Alessi's going to ask him and say, hey, you recorded this at this time and you did this, and you're saying, like with the hand stuff, like I know they were talking about saying like the force is in the hand to break the hand. It took this and that took like entirely too long. It was like, what's the point of this? It's like, oh, wait a minute. He must have somebody at Arca who's going to say, no, if you have 6,500 pounds lumbering at you at 10.8 meters a second or 24 miles an hour, and the force behind that is ridiculously tremendous. And he's talking about saying, well, you could take a pen or a pencil and you can, concentrate it. But when the whole entire thing is barreling at your hand, yeah, something's going to happen. So I'm guessing that somebody at Arca is going to come back and say, yeah, this is the force. And, like I did it out here. And like what I keep telling you guys, if you were to do what this asshat basically tried to mimic, your arm would be ripped off at the on a good day. Your arm would be ripped off. And you're lucky if you don't go with it. So so I think they're going to have somebody from Arca say like, hey, whoever said that nothing would be broken is full of shit, or shouldn't have a license to do anything. So
exactly.
All right. Do you want to listen to his background? I mean, it's so long winded. I mean, it's 34 minutes before he talks about like what he did.
You just remind everybody what his degrees are in.
Okay, so this guy's an asshole, and in my opinion. He was doing too much. So basically in his long-winded story was he was a mechanical person and his father was a doctor and he was going to go into medical school because he liked that. And he said, no, let's go into something else because it's stupid. And was like, okay, I'll do that. And so then he took a couple courses in anatomy and went into biomedical engineering, but he didn't get his master's until much later. So I don't know what he was doing in the meantime, but I guess he had a company that he founded. And it's biomedical, not biomechanical, because I kept thinking biomechanical. It's biomedical. What does biomedical mean? It means that somebody is studying what the body does in certain situations, like if somebody throws you up against a wall or sticks you in a catapult and launches you over a wall or puts you in a car. It's what that does to you with forces in biological materials like your spine, your bones, your skin. That's why he said like, oh, the bones are my structure and the ligaments are the suspension. and making a big deal out of it. So that was a long-winded way to say that. He has his master's and he actually just got his doctorate in 2022, he said, but he said that he was working in a lot of this. He said he's published. Again, you got to take publishing with a grain of salt. You'll get published in anything. It depends on what kind of journal you get published in. Now, in academia, there are different levels of snobbery. Like there's like the gold standards of like Science Magazine, Nature Magazine. Then your fields have different magazines. But there are a dime a dozen. You could get published in just about anything. It depends on what it is. If it's peer reviewed, if it's journal reviewed, it's just different levels. So like I saw online, they're like, well, this guy has 20 publications and ARCA only has 10. Like, yeah, but ARCA got published in like I don't know, like Engineering Digest or something up here. And I mean, again, it's still an accomplishment. I don't want to shit on anybody, but based on what this guy showed us.
Yeah, he's an educated dude. He's not a decorated dude. He's an educated dude. We're not taking anything away from him as far as his education goes. I mean, he's highly educated. What?
Wait, MCAT, can we call ourselves Bert and the Bitches?
Yeah, I had to put that up there because I love that. I absolutely love it. That is the best thing. That is the funniest damn thing ever. Asking for a friend. Yes, we can. We can call ourselves anything on Wednesday nights. And we might be calling ourselves wacky crazy if this case doesn't start turning over a new leaf. We're all going to go nuts. I think the whole internet went nuts today. I haven't had any time to check out. We'll have to check out Twitter a little bit. We'll take a little bit of a break halfway through, and I'll pull up my Twitter page and read you what's going on Twitter. I'm sure it's just going nuts.
Well, kind of, sort of. I mean, it seemed pretty quiet on the anti side. I mean, usually the people that write like, "See, I told you, this is a serve. She's done. Lock her up. She should be," and they didn't have a lot of that today. And in the attic, they didn't have a lot of that either, which, I mean, they were talking about other stuff. They were talking about turtle and stuff going on there. So,
right. And yes, Bert, you can. Bert says, so can I say, hey, bitches? Yes, you absolutely can, Bert. We're all for it. I'll allow it.
You'll allow it. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Where do we want to start?
All right. So that's basically this guy. This guy is a biomedical engineer.
Right.
He said he talks about forces. He's talking about forces within the body and what happens when stuff like what happens when you take a baseball bat to somebody's head, the force to break a skull and stuff like that. That's the type of stuff that he does. So all right, Kat, if you go to 34 minutes.
Okay. And Shauna, if you want to come on with us audio only or face with your makeup on from South Florida, I will email you the link to join us on the platform. Let me know. Tell me where I should go again, Jules.
34 minutes.
34 minutes. Got it.
Yep.
We'll just go about right. I'll get it as close as I can. There we go. Let's start 33.
Yeah, close enough.
There we go.
If you've got pink salt, apple cider vinegar,
this again.
On like 1.5 time because
not using this recipe yet. You're throwing.
So we can go fast.
Do you work with other people? Do you have a team?
I do.
How many people are on your team?
5.
And what's the team comprised of?
Um,
Is everybody a PhD in engineer?
One individual is a PhD in engineering, Dr. Umali, and then I have 3 other engineers and 1 case reader. I guess it's 65, a case manager as well.
Is there any, do you work interchangeably at the different branches around the country, or do you have your own team in California that you work with?
99% of the time, it's my own team. Occasionally, we'll get a case for another office. I've worked on a couple cases out of the Texas office and maybe a couple out of the Nevada office.
Were you asked to look at any data or information relative to this case?
Yes.
In looking at data and information, do you try to look at a narrow or broad range of information?
So I definitely cast a very broad range. We try and get as much information as possible, and then weed it down to what is important, weed it down to what is consistent with the data. So you start off very big, and then get down to sort of the meat and potatoes of it, the important information.
Do you necessarily rely on everything you look at?
No, I certainly consider everything I look at, but I frequently don't rely on everything because sometimes it's not reliable or it's irrelevant.
In this case, can you share with us materials generally that you look
at? A lot of it's irrelevant.
Around there, read from my report.
Yes.
So, Mr. Porter, I apologize for the lengthy list.
Oh, okay.
So-
All right. This is when he looks. All right. So you
So
can
I
fast
have,
forward to 44 minutes. All right. So
police
basically,
reports,
he basically says,
including the Canton PD
I'm
incident
the best.
report. And
I cast a broad net, and so I don't know what happens, and I certainly don't have an agenda. And somebody said, take a look at this whole entire case and gather all the information, and then come up with your theory, but don't have a hypothesis or anything, and don't have an experiment. Just look really broad, and then go narrow. Now, if anybody who saw how today ended, this is going to hit because that's basically what he was talking about today. All right. Can you go to 44 minutes?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, because
ma'am.
he talks about all the shit that he did and how he did too much, and oh boy. Yep, close enough.
I'm gonna get you there. There.
That's good. Yeah.
possible to inspect everything you can inspect.
If you can now begin and tell us how you started your investigation.
Sure. So on September 23rd, I had an opportunity to come out. Mr. Brandon, was the first time I ever met you on that day, I believe. And I had to receive material before that. And what you see here is, this is my inspection of Miss Reed's vehicle.
All right, can you
In
pause
the
it
upper
for 1
left
second?
photograph, you'll see, oh, this doesn't work very well. Upper left photograph,
Can't.
Yeah.
that's Miss Reed's vehicle.
Can we pause this for a
That's
second?
Mr. O'Keefe's
Oh, yes.
vehicle.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. I was putting
And
up
then what
Bert's
you see here
comment. He
is,
says he's
laser scanner.
insufferable.
You see,
No worries.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So if you can see what's on the screen now is this is Karen's Lexus. This is, I believe, at the State Trooper Barrack. And as you can see, this guy is very professional because he filmed himself with a tape measure and her car, and he took several pictures of himself measuring everything so professionally while taking a picture of his package. I believe that is, as he put it, the occipital boner, as he said yesterday. It's the occiput boner. So that's a picture of him with his occiput boner, taking pictures, doing all the things, professional. So, okay, all right, you can play that. So it's just him being extra. So
Yeah,
you can play
being
this for a
extra.
little bit.
No, good observation. Good
Yeah, so
observation.
you can play this.
on the
I
ground
mean,
here. Laser scanner
I
is
mean, he'll tell
creating
you
a
how
3D
extra
model
you
of the vehicles. So I
Yep.
use that to create a 3D model of the vehicles. You can see me in the upper right photograph. That watch is this watch right here, my Garmin watch. And what I'm doing is looking at the construction composition of that right rear corner of the bumper. I'm looking at things such as the dimensions, where various lights and components
Very
are,
professional.
and how does the geometry of that bumper relate to things that would be hit when backed into.
Dr. Welcher notes this is 9/23/94.
We measured
Is that
the
an accurate date of
occiput
when you came and first started looking at
Yeah.
the vehicles in the area?
You said 24, correct?
I did.
You said 9/23/24, correct. And then on the slide, what I tried to do is underline what I'm doing. So this is inspection of the Reed Lexus. And as noted, I'm only showing you a couple. I actually took 445 photographs.
Do you remember when you began this case?
Yeah, he
The
took
month
a
and the date?
billion
No,
photographs,
obviously before this, I
That's
had material
insane.
before I came out to
That's
the
That's
vehicle.
fucking
You think it was months
insane.
before this?
and he made
I
400
don't think it was
million
months, no,
slides.
maybe
with
a
it.
month, if not less.
So you began your work in the fall of 2024?
Correct.
And I just want to ask you about the picture in the middle. You see the right taillight housing is missing. Did you
Correct.
understand that had been removed prior to you looking at the car?
It was, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. However, some of the evidence stickers, these white stickers here, were still on the vehicle.
You did not place those. Did you place those stickers on yourself?
I did not.
Were they there when you first saw the car?
Correct. They match what I'd seen in other photos.
Thank you.
So just continuing on. So what you see is, again, I mentioned looking underneath
Yeah.
the bumper.
See, more pictures of him with his occiput boner, taking more pictures of just random shit on the car. All right, wait, this is enough. This is insufferable this time. All
And
right, can you go to-
I just paused it because if I'm Karen Reed right now, I'm like, get your fucking hands off my car.
no, well, I mean, he's the least of her problems, but
Oh, I
all right,
know,
can you go-
I know. But
I know.
it was just a thought that came to my mind watching that idiot touching my vehicle, touching my car, making me look like I did something I didn't do. It just,
Oh, it gets
I don't
worse.
know how
It
she
gets worse.
sits there like that and just stays as calm as she does. Everybody's always criticizing her facial expressions. Her facial expressions are nothing compared to what they should be or could be when you're literally being framed for something you didn't do. And you have to listen to all these mofos, as Sean used to say, lie and lie and lie. And then you listen to these experts who obviously are biased, because if he would have been doing what he's supposed to do as an expert and looking at the entire picture, then he should have been considering other possibilities. If you're only considering one possibility, how are you not biased?
You would think. I mean,
Right?
again, how today ended was basically him saying, "Well, nobody told me what to look at, and I sent this to you, and I definitely didn't talk to this guy, and I certainly didn't do Trooper Paul stuff, and I certainly didn't have an agenda coming in, because look at all the stuff I did. I took all the pictures, I used lasers, we put them into a computer, I did calculations. but we'll get to it. All right, can you go to 58 minutes? This is a little longer.
Indeed.
But yeah, so he does all the stuff. He's amazing. Okay. Take it from him.
Take it from him. He's amazing. Okay, commercial time. What do they got for us now?
Hey everyone, big heads up. Paleo Valley's running
Whoops. I tapped.
a sale on all their meat sticks right now. You
Oh,
can
meat
get 30
sticks.
sticks for
All
36
right,
bucks,
let's get some
which
meat
comes
sticks.
out to a
Indicator around the taillight's gone. And then went to the scene. So same thing, went to the
He's the
scene.
best. He went to the scene.
Took,
He didn't touch it though. He didn't touch the
photographs
scene.
of
He
the
just went there.
Have our people scan it to create a computer model of the scene.
Mm.
So, literally, if you want to know the distance from this window to, say, some manhole cover on the road, we have the data to figure that out, down to a couple
So
millimeters.
good. I wonder what the
In addition
depth, I
to
wonder
the
what the
things
measurement
in
is from the
visual
flagpole
you
to
mentioned other
the
review
mailbox,
materials.
asking for a
We
friend.
reviewed,
Yes.
dash cam footage from Canton Police Department, police vehicles to see the general location of where Mr. O'Keefe was when first responders were assisting him.
Objection, Your Honor.
So that's just a yes or no.
Yes.
Thank you.
So the TechStream download. So this is a screenshot from the TechStream download. Keep in mind, this is kind of maintenance software. So we're looking at a number of things in the maintenance software. What we see is, and this is noted in the report too, that when the vehicle gets into the Canton Police Department after this event, you can see the mileage is 12,665 miles. So that shows up in Trooper Paul's report. It shows up in the photographs, and it shows up as matching the mileage in the TechStream data, both at triggers 1164 and triggers 1167.
I'd ask you if you can enlarge the data on the right and break down what it actually means, the different columns and the.
My fingers are too fat.
Thank you.
Okay. So what you're looking at is what I call event
I think your
1162.
head's too
If
fat.
you see
not
anything
your
in
fingers.
blue on these charts, that's information that I added. I typically put my initial, JBW, it's in Blair Welcher, that's me. And so this is referred to as the key cycle trip. So key cycle is simply you turn it on, not necessarily turn the ignition on, turn on, turn off. That's one key cycle. So I labeled this one 1162-2 because there's also one that's on the same key cycle that I'm calling 1162-1. The system also records the mileage. So again, this is a maintenance system generally. So what you see is the T here is the trigger, and there's a point. So this time in the TechStream data, you can think of it as like a stopwatch. It's when it starts when the car turns on and stops when the car turns off. And then if it sees a triggering event, a T, it records that information. So this is when the trigger happened. So that's 1,142.2 seconds. And so I've converted that to minutes and seconds because most people don't think in seconds. And so what it also does is once it sees a trigger, it's constantly circulating data through the computer. So when it says, okay, we have a trigger, it saves 5 seconds before the trigger and then 5 seconds after the trigger. So the trigger's in the middle and you have 5 seconds of data before and 5 seconds of data after.
I have a couple of questions for you, Dr. Welcher. First, starting with the clock, the time in seconds on the left. You mentioned that begins when the car is turned on. What type of clock is that called?
It's just a continuous clock. I mean, it's not a clock like a time clock. It's more like a stopwatch kind of clock.
Has it ever been referred to as a running clock?
The same thing. You start the stopwatch as running.
Based on the TechStream data alone, found in that one spot, can you tell from the data in the TechStream alone what time the power was turned on?
No, not alone. It simply tells you how long it's been on. It doesn't necessarily immediately tie it back to a clock time. You need additional information.
And so this in and of itself, the TechStream data doesn't give you a certain time on a clock, like 1 o'clock or 2:30, anything like that.
No, it simply tells you in this case when the trigger occurred, it's been on for 19 minutes and 2 seconds.
You also mentioned that there's a 10-second window of information that's captured. 5 seconds before the T and 5 seconds after the T, the triggering event.
Correct.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained, yes, continue.
That window of 10 seconds, what happens if that doesn't capture the entire event? What if there's something before or after? What does the TechStream data do?
So it depends on what the something is. So if there's another trigger, then it will record more data. So you can have 2 triggers that are recording things on the same time window as well, or very close to the same time window. So you need another trigger to keep it going. In essence, what it does is when it sees a trigger, it saves that 10-second window and then just keeps monitoring things until it sees another trigger.
If it,
All right,
if the
can everybody
data
get that piece? Because they talked about this a
10-second
bunch.
window, and
Yeah, a second.
an event continues past that 10 seconds. So past
What'd you say, Joel?
All right, so did everybody get and understand what he was talking about? He's talking about the event triggers on the TechStream data. So on key cycle is when you turn the car on or you turn the key on. You could turn the key on and not start the car. That's key cycle. You could turn the car on and not, I just said that. You could turn the car on, and that's also a key cycle because you have to turn the key on, then start the car. So there's on and there's start. Both of those start a key cycle. That's a long-winded way to say when you start the car, it's going to register a key cycle. It's basically.
Now, what about the push button? What about the push button cars?
Well,
Julie?
same thing. You turn the key on. Well, with the push button, if you press it once, that'll go to auxiliary or key on. Like I say on, but if you press it, that'll turn to auxiliary. But you have to hold it for, I think, 3 seconds or hit the brake or something like that. Whatever you do for key cycles to start it. But
Okay.
so basically, when they say key cycles, it's a key event. So you're either starting the car or you're putting the key on to like auxiliary, like in the old cars where you would turn it back.
Right. So you could just listen to your radio.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
old
exactly. That's a key cycle. It's basically
run
saying
your
like,
battery
hey,
down.
something is, so it's basically like turning, flipping a switch, and something is happening. Either the radio is going to turn on, the lights are going to turn on, you can open the door, something. It's
Right,
basically saying
right.
like, hey, there's an occupant here who's engaging. Let's start recording. What he's talking about is the key cycle. The clock starts from 3 seconds after your car starts, or you put the key on, or put the auxiliary function on. What he's talking about a running clock is it starts again 1, 2, 3, 4, like a stopwatch. And what he's talking about with events is if you start your car and you rev it past 2,500 RPMs, that starts that triggers an event. If you turn the car wildly and whip it around, that triggers an event. If you slam on the brakes, that triggers an event. What he's talking about is that when you trigger an event, you have a 10-second interval of time that it captures, saying, hey, this is the event and this is what it correlates to. Now, I do believe that there's a lot more information that when your key is on, your whole entire system monitors. So it should monitor what the engine's doing at all times to read like what the RPMs are doing, see what your compression is, what your temperature is. Should have all that. So I don't know why this guy's saying that it only goes to 10 seconds, but I think that the defense has somebody to talk about that. So we'll talk about that. So this came up a lot today again in cross. So it's 10 seconds and it basically says like at the 9-minute mark of the start time, meaning 9 minutes from the time you started the car, this event happens. Now there are a lot more key cycles on this, but he's talking about these in specific. And again, he takes forever. He said that he managed to find out which key cycle it was by taking events that happened later and basically saying like, okay, well, she drove from Canton to Dighton, and this was 36 miles or whatever it was. So that's key cycle that. And then there's key cycle from 34 Fairview to One Meadows. So this must be key cycle 1162 when the event happened. So that's how he was kind of finagling a bagel. I mean, he goes on for, I think, 23 minutes to explain all this. So
yeah.
All right. Can you fast forward to that was text stream data. And then he goes over, and then the same thing that Burgess was talking about. This guy was talking about a little bit more how they managed to find the time, because again, the car has a clock inside the computer system, but it doesn't sync up with the running clock of when you start your car and start driving along. That's just on a time. So what they're saying is we need to sync it to a time that's known. What they were using was Officer John O'Keefe's phone and the GPS time to say, okay, this is the time at the time of the 3-point turn. So let's sync it up this way. Problem is that they only used it sometimes. They're like, well, sometimes we'll use Officer John O'Keefe's phone, and sometimes we'll use Waze, GPS, and sometimes we'll use like this other stuff, and it kind of jumps around, and they do a whole bunch of smoke and mirrors to talk about this type of shit to try to throw you off. Like, look, we did the most, therefore we know what we're talking about. So that's what he's talking about. Like, we synced it up. We found the 3-point turn when she missed Cedar Crest, or when she missed Fairview Road on Cedar Crest, went by, did the 3-point turn, banged a Yui, and did 3-point turn, did bang a Yui, but then came back. That's what he's talking about. But it's taking him fucking forever and driving me crazy. So,
okay, just want to check in with the chat. Bert says Meatball said there was a video. I want to see it.
Oh yeah, I know. For the longest time, we have ring footage of her doing this. It's all on tape. Yeah.
Shauna wants to see it too. I think we all want to see it. MCAT said my car doesn't do that. It's on or off, no radio only, like back in the day.
You should be able to.
Queen Olive has entered the room. Yay!
It depends on what your car does. You
Yes,
should be able to.
Olive is with us too. Thank you, Olive, for being here tonight. Confuses, yes, cycles confuse me. Yeah, it confuses most of us.
Yeah.
Normal
So
people
yeah.
that aren't scientists and biophysicists. Olive says, but if he has the wrong key cycle, then the whole thing is messed up. Yes,
Yep,
absolutely.
there you go. And I'm pretty sure that's what Ark is going to talk about too. So that's why, like, again, Bert was talking about something else.
Bert said, didn't
yeah.
Trooper say it was a different key cycle?
No, Trooper Paul said it was 1162, and then Alan Jackson on the cross said, let's count down from the time that you did it, because they said that Trooper Paul's test was at key cycle 1164, I believe.
Right.
And that's what Alan was like, okay, well, let's count backwards. This is when it went to the Sally port. This is when you did your chest. And this is when it went on the tow truck, right? So therefore 1162 should be this. I'm pretty sure that's what they're going to have either Arca or somebody from Toyota come in and say, hey, this actually corresponds to this. Now, he didn't explain any of this, and he didn't bring Trooper Paul in, which is why what's his face kept going so hard, saying, well, Trooper Paul this, Trooper Paul this, Trooper Paul this, Trooper Paul's report said this, Trooper Paul's report said that, Trooper Paul, Trooper Paul, Trooper Paul. So I don't know. They might end up calling Trooper Paul to say, hello, did you grow brains yet?
Can we make that a new tongue twister, Julie? Okay, Julie, I'm clipping that. I'm putting that up later. That was fantastic. MCAT says, I'm lost. You and the rest of America who's watching this trial, and the world, because we've got people from all over the world watching this trial. MCAT, you are not alone. You are not alone. Bert says, I had a 1959 Comet that was a push button. What? Seriously?
Oh yeah, that was yeah, that's like the contact ones from like way back in the day.
Wow. Oh
I know
my
what you're talking
God.
about.
I would have loved to have seen that. All right. Am I going back to where we
Okay.
were?
All right. Can you go to 1 hour, 40 minutes approximately?
Yes, ma'am. Anything for our resident Bostonian scientist? 140?
Yeah, approximately. That's
All
close
right.
enough. Yeah, close enough.
All right.
All right. So now
Don't
he's going
mix
to talk
salt with
about
these
cycle
three
11
ingredients if you don't want the
event number
Manjaro
2
effect
that
on your
he's calling
body.
event number
Let's
2.
take
So
a
this
look
is
at
again the
this
same.
Why are companies
Thinking of running clock.
In the second column in blue.
Hang on. What'd you say, that darn commercial?
Oh yeah, no worry. So this is so he's still talking about the key cycles again. Key cycle 1162, according to him, is when she started the car, when she left the waterfall, where she and John left the waterfall, kept the car running, supposedly hit him, and then drove back to One Meadows. That's what he's calling 1162. Now he's saying that there were 2 events that they looked at, even though there were more. There was event number 1, which was 3-point turn that they missed, and now they're talking about event number 2, which he's calling the strike. So
All right.
go ahead.
Here we go. Everybody get out a cocktail. You're going to need it.
That's where I take that time and convert it to what we more commonly use, minutes and seconds.
And now we have a key cycle event. different than
He did the
three-point turn.
most.
What's the
Remember,
number?
he did the
So
most.
this is now 1162-2. So again, it's technically in the system the same key cycle. I called it 1162-2.
And the red number next to it to the right.
That's the mileage. So it's actually at the same mileage as 1162-1. So we know they're within the same mile.
If you can scroll over a couple of columns. From your data, can you tell during that event how far the Lexus traveled during that event?
Yes.
And how do you do that?
So we have accelerometer data. We have velocity data or speed data back here. I've corrected for what you see down here is, and I go through this on a later slide, but right here you can see a significant increase in RPMs, but yet the acceleration is dropping. So what that means is if your RPMs are going up and the speed's going up, that means you should be accelerating more. But what happens because the acceleration is dropping, that means what's actually happened is the wheel's slipping.
Yep.
So what I've done is I've used the accelerometer data to calculate the speed once the vehicle is put into reverse. And once we know the speed, again, feet per second, we know every data point is half a second. So speed times time tells you how far you moved. Feet per second, feet divided by seconds times seconds gives you feet. That's how far you went.
Okay,
So
did
you
everybody
get
get that?
how far you went
No.
in each
Okay.
interval.
All
So I have
Then you get
a
the-
question. I'm sure
Yep.
everyone has thousands of questions. So and we'll get to this on the cross, but he was confusing me so much today with his bullshit where he kept talking about she drove up and then she drove backwards 87 feet, but it was supposed to be this and then I minus that. And I'm
We
like,
got that.
wait a minute. If you're minusing off 30 some feet because and then you have 57 feet, how did she drive backwards 87 feet?
Well, so that's what they were arguing about today for a ridiculous amount of
Yeah.
time, and that's what he's
Yeah.
going to explain right now. But I want to make sure everybody gets what he's talking about. So he is basically saying that what this is recording, since this doesn't record time. I'm sorry, this doesn't record mileage in feet.
Right.
It only does mileage per trip by the odometer. But what it does do is it records the speed of the wheel, and it records the accelerometer, which is I think that's the thing that's on the tire. So he's basically just saying a whole bunch of words. Basically, what he's saying is we calculate. So this is all broken down into half seconds. So he's saying that when you start, it starts at 0. Then, depending on the direction, whether it's forward or backwards, it doesn't really matter. Distance just depends on which way you're going. At half a second, you're going 9 miles an hour. So 9 miles an hour is whatever it is in feet per second. He's saying in half a second, you're going 9 miles an hour. We broke that down. We did speed, which is distance over time. Broke that down to figure out if you're going 9 miles an hour. Therefore, in half a second, you'll be traveling, 7 feet, let's say. It's not 7 feet, but let's just say it's 7 feet. Then in the next half a second, if you're going 12 miles an hour, well, in that 12 miles an hour in the half a second, you would be traveling, let's say 8 feet per second. I'll say you would have traveled 8 feet. In that 1 second, you would have traveled 15 feet. Does that make sense?
Yes. But I was
Really?
sort of.
Well, yeah. So okay. So he's basically breaking it down. I don't think he has it on his hang on. I don't think he has that in his spreadsheet that he didn't add to, but he added to for God knows whatever reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's basically saying like, well, we calculated this the distance based on the speed at that half a second. So again, if you're going all right, instead of going miles per hour, let's say you're going 10 meters per second. If you go 10 meters per second in a half a second, that's 5 meters.
Yes.
Then if you're going 6 meters per second in the next second, you'd be going 3 meters.
Yep.
So that would be 8 meters total in that 1 second based on the speed changes in that time. That's how he calculated the distance. Now, whether he did it the right way or not is still up to debate, but that's how he calculated that time because it's not telling you how far he went. Now, there's other ways to do it. You could calculate the rotation. You could calculate based on video, but the way he did it in another video is kind of makes sense. But so that's where he's getting the distance from. Now, he adds a whole shitload of other stuff where he turns into, well, the wheel slipped. And so therefore, this is that I went to the accelerometer and I went to this and I went to that. Like he makes a big deal out of a whole bunch, but he's basically saying it went 87 meters. Now, what he's saying is that because part of it was forward and part of it was backwards, she's going 34 feet forward, then switches and goes 57 feet in reverse. 54 feet in reverse or whatever it's 53 feet in reverse for a total of 87 feet total. Now,
but
that doesn't make any fucking sense to compare to what he was talking about. But
but then Alessi would say to him, so wait, you're saying that she went 87 feet in reverse? And he'd say, and he went, yes. And I'm like, wait a minute. No, you just said that you minused off when she went forward. It was like so confusing.
Yep. Yes, that's intentional. He was saying that there was a total of 87 feet traveled. He is saying, wait a minute, you're going forward and it should only be 20 something traveled from the time that she started because she went forward and back. If you're talking about the complete trip, that's 87. But if you're saying distance wise, it's a shorter distance.
I
just doesn't make any sense. And this is just doing a whole bunch of work for nothing.
All I want to know, Julie, is what they are claiming that she backed up at 24 miles an hour. How many feet did she go? And he just kept on saucing it up with just crap. I'm like, no, how many feet? This is not complicated. How many feet did she drive backwards at 20? I don't give a shit if she went forward all the way down to the next block. I want to know how many feet did she drive backwards?
Yep, exactly.
24 miles an hour. That's what I want to know. And he couldn't get him to say it. He just kept on trying to reinvent the question. It was just
so Well, so if you go based on, wait, let me put this down. If you go based on what I just said and what this guy just said, you would have only traveled backwards 20 something feet because you would have gone forward 36. Okay, so if you have the original spot, you have the original spot right here. Okay, this is where she dropped him off and where she stopped. Then she goes forward 34 feet and then goes backwards 53 feet. 53 minus 34 is about 20 feet. So she would have ended up 20 feet from where she originally started from.
But I don't care where she originally started from. I care about how far did she go backwards at 24 miles an hour, right?
24 miles an hour? Not very far.
Why? But why do we care where she originally started from? This is what they took.
Well, we do for placement. We do for placement. Now, again, this is all wrong because this guy is saying, I can do this with such precision and this and that. And then again, if you watch what happened today, where he goes, I don't know any of that. I mean, it's all up in the air. I have all these formulas, but we don't know where he was standing. We don't know where his head was. We don't know where he was in the ground. We can do approximations, but I don't know if he was oriented this way. I don't know if it struck this way. You're supposed to do that. You're a fucking engineer. But yeah, so all right. So if you play this for a little bit, he'll go through kind of it. And I just wanted to.
I'm only saying this. I'm only saying this if I was a guilter. That's a term that they've been using in the Brian Kohlberger case on a lot of the live streams. If I was a guilter, if I absolutely believed that Karen Read is guilty, then I would be talking like this, like, prove to me how far she went backwards at 24 miles an hour. That's what I want you to do if I'm a guilter, right?
Yeah. It wasn't very far. I think it was at 24 miles an hour because I think it was about a second and a half. It was about 62 feet. That's where the original 62 feet came in.
But think about it too.
There's not space for any of this. It doesn't match. It doesn't match.
I have a question for you, and I have a question for the live and on replay, if you guys wouldn't mind. Have any? So at the end, I'm going to skip forward right now. At the end of today, when Alessi said to him, have you ever driven your car or any of your vehicles 24 miles an hour backwards in low lighting in weather conditions that are poor? Can any of us say we've done that? Now, I can say I've done that, but can any of you say you've done that? Not very many people have ever driven their car backwards in reverse 24 miles an hour in bad weather conditions. It's just not a common thing that you do, that normal people do on any given day. So I loved how he embellished and said something about, I might have done that skiing. I'm like, dude,
that's right. Did that mountain for many years ago. I didn't see, but I wouldn't recommend it. Yeah, he was getting wild today.
He was wild. There's no fucking way. There's no fucking way I believe him that he ever drove 24 miles an hour in a parking lot of a ski lodge. I don't buy it. I don't believe it. I just don't buy it. It's
up
ridiculous.
A mountain.
It's ridiculous. Trust me, guys. If you really want to know, go to an empty mall parking lot.
No. We're not going in reverse anywhere. Nope. No one's going in reverse. We're not doing this. Disclaimer.
Wait, I better put the Valkyrie.
No.
Wait, we'll put the Valkyrie disclaimer back up. Let's get that back up.
Oh, I know, because we're gonna show him shooting himself with a car.
Oh my gosh. All right. So
all right, so just play this for a little bit. So this is basically what he's saying. I just wanted to get the basics because I don't think many
it's a lot.
People kind of understood because it was a lot today too. And
well, just look at all these numbers. Come on. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, but they correspond. And like he started to get extra. He's like, well, I found my favorite number and I multiplied a whole bunch of them by them, and then I put the formula down at the bottom so everybody can see. Look how wonderful I am. Like, all right, buddy.
Okay,
like you did a lot. I get it.
Like I said, if you like alcohol, get your cocktail out. I have a plain old lemonade, but I've almost drank the whole thing because this gets my cortisol is like streaming through my body right now.
Total distance traveled, and so this is relative to the start. So 0 is the start. The vehicle goes forward about 34 feet. Then you see it basically stops in this area here, then begins to back up and ends up backing a total of 53 back from where it originally started. So if you add 53 to 34, you get 87. So the total motion, 34 forward, 53 back.
Wait a minute.
Let's just move.
Never mind. No, I know that made it even worse.
This makes it worse for me, Julie. Where is my cocktail? That's it. I'm taking a time out. I'll be right back. I'm going upstairs.
That makes it worse.
Mom Solon
Yeah.
has a fully loaded and stocked bar because Pop Solon was the king of the cocktail hour. I need a cocktail. We're going to have to take a break here in a minute because this is ridiculous.
Gotta get a
This
highball.
makes it way worse for me. Okay. Now I just woke up the puppy. Oh my God. Okay. Okay. Sorry.
Doing too much. He is the
Dr. Walker, when you say
literal
you've left
definition
this
of
move
doing too
80
much.
feet total. Is that according to the data, or is that the entirety of the movement of that Lexus?
No, that's just from when the data starts to when the data ends. So if you look at when the data starts, you can see that the vehicle is actually going 13.67 miles an hour. When the data stops, the vehicle is still going 23 miles an hour. And you can see,
I'm sorry.
you can still and see that it's still at 74% throttle. So, this is 3/4 of full throttle in reverse.
So to start with the distance traveled, if you can go to the top, we see that the speed is 13.67. Is that where the data gets picked up?
That's where the first data point is. Again, the trigger is here. This is 5 seconds before the trigger.
Are you able to tell how fast or slow the vehicle is traveling before that data point, of 5 seconds before the trigger?
No.
And likewise, on the bottom, the speed, at the end of the 10-second data points at 23.61, can you tell whether or not that speed stayed the same, increased, or decreased?
I mean, considering you're at 74% throttle, it likely increased. How much, I don't know. And you can see that up here, she's on the
Don't know
brake.
that.
Down here, she's not on the brake. And so she's not on the brake and at 74% throttle.
And what is the percentage of throttle that has to be initiated to cause a triggering event?
For a shift into rear and a rapid throttle application, is 30%.
This is the quickest way to clear out stuck poop.
Oh my
I
God.
have
This is
to
a crazy
poop.
commercial. You've got to be kidding me.
If you look at the next column over, if you can go to the top heading for the jury to see the engine RPM data, could you explain that?
Sure. Again, that's the engine RPMs. And so, as I mentioned, you have this jump in engine RPMs and a very dramatic jump in the reported speed of the vehicle. But when you look at the acceleration is actually dropping. So again, that's a telltale sign that the tire's spinning because the vehicle's not being accelerated. And
Like
so
the-
I've
like
used
the
the
stuff in
accelerometer
snow.
data. Again,
Right.
if you just, so a process called integration, you integrate the accelerometer data, it will give you the velocity. So what I've done is
Yeah.
it's called piecewise integration to get the speed data that takes into
Hang on.
account
Can you
the
pause
tire
it for a
slippage.
second?
Yep.
Okay, so what he's saying is he's saying that the engine is spinning, which again, when you hit the gas or the accelerator, it accelerates the engine, which means the RPMs go up, which is the rotation of the engine. The piston's moving up and down. And what he's saying is that the RPMs are going up. She's still engaging, but the acceleration or the car's velocity is not moving. But the tires are saying that it is. So he's saying that the car's not moving, but the tires are spinning. Therefore, the tire's stuck in snow. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know, if you're in a driveway in Dighton and you're backing the car up to get it out of 1.5 feet of snow, something like that, maybe. I don't know. I'm just
Yeah,
speculating.
that could be that's a possibility. Because remember,
yeah.
everything's a possibility in engineering.
Oh God, no. Okay, that bullshit with the I don't know. It could have been launched in the air. I'm an engineer. I should know. No, you don't know because you need some sort of propellant, shithead. But
Thank God when he said that, I was at this beautiful rest stop just outside of Chattanooga, and I was looking over the Tennessee River, and I was by myself with Tanner, and I was and I could scream and yell out loud when that was going on. Thank the Lord I wasn't driving. I might have gotten in an accident where I would have needed reconstruction.
This guy is doing too much. All right. So what he just said here is he said he can decipher what he's the speed and what the vehicle is moving by integration. He's saying, well, the tires are spinning, but the velocity is moving and the pedal is still going. So therefore, by what he called integration, he could decide what the vehicle is moving. Now, how I interpret that is he is cherry picking because you don't know exactly what the speed is moving. You know what the tire is spinning. You don't know what the actual car is moving. He's just kind of saying like, well, I did some magic and I found that the tire, even though the tire is spinning because the acceleration is doing this, but I found that it's moving this. So I did my calculation anyways, and therefore I came to this. That's how I interpret what he just said. And I'm pretty sure that that's what Bob Alessi was getting at today too. So
yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
MCAT says, or in the mud in Alabama, absolutely, or anywhere where they go muddy.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Anywhere where it's very, very, very slick and hard to get
right.
hard
Jeep
to get
owners.
traction. Yeah. And then that bullshit that he pulled today with the obviously she was slipping on the berm if she got up on the berm. No, because you need to be able to have traction to get up onto a berm. It was just a lot. It was a lot.
Bird says, if I'm on the jury, I'm pissed.
Yeah, I guess the jury wasn't too happy, but I guess they were taking all this in. But I guess with today, they weren't too happy with what was going on. I don't know if they weren't happy with Alessi or if they weren't happy with him. My money is they weren't happy with him.
I hope so. I hope so.
From there, calculate the speed or the position at each interval going across the top here.
If I could stop you at your column that says JBW speed at each time step.
Yeah.
You go to the bottom, please. So does your data indicate that the speed is changing at the end of this 10-second event?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is the speed changing at the end of this event?
Yes.
How so?
Well, again, you can see it's increased about 2.7 miles per hour. And again, we know from what I already stated that last time step, you're still at 74% throttle and you have zero brake application.
Is it possible from the data to tell how far
He's
the Lexus
making a
was
big
forward
assumption
before
with
it went
that.
reverse in total as far as
Yes,
speed?
yes, that's
Not
a
in
huge
total, no.
assumption.
We just have this 10-second window. I can tell you what it did during the 10-second window.
Is it possible to tell how far it continued after the data?
No.
The shift position changes from 1 to 0 to 2. Can you again explain to us what that means?
Sure, 1 is drive, 0 is neutral, 2 is reverse. And then brake switch status, again, a 1 is you're on the brake pedal.
And
that's
today he
activate the
said
brake lights.
something a little
0 is you're off
different.
the brake pedal.
So keep that in
Each
mind.
one of those indicators, 1, 0, 2.
Yeah.
How much time is for each of those?
0.5 seconds.
So can you tell how long the Lexus was in neutral for?
So again, it only occurs at one time step. And again, there's a little timing issue. Like we only have data every half second. You don't know exactly where in that time it was.
Okay, you can continue, Dr. Bolger.
Next slide or continue on the slide.
Unless there's something else you want to point out to the jury on this slide. You
No,
can move to the
I'm
next.
So similarly, using this information to then try to tie it back.
Why are women who eat ice cream
Oh.
and burgers walking around
Okay,
with
I
flat
got it.
bellies and you're not? This is the pink
To the cell phone data to make sure we have the real-time information. Again, this was written back in January before I got the additional information. So what you can see is, I'll zoom in. Again, we're now talking about trigger 1162.2. We know that that's 18 minutes that the vehicle has been on, 18 minutes, 57 seconds, 19 minutes, 2 seconds. This is the range. Again, plus or minus 5 seconds. 19 minutes, 2 seconds is when the trigger occurred. Input.
I'm just stopping it because I want to take a picture of that. I'll put it right back on. I want a screenshot of that to add to our deck.
Entertainment system, adding those two together, 12.1236 plus the 19.7.5 indicates the end of 1162-2 is at 12.31.43.
That 12:31:43, is it based on the Lexus clock from the entertainment system?
It is. It would need to be corrected to the O'Keefe cell phone data.
So when you reconcile that variance of 21.9 seconds, what is the time?
You end up with 12:32.04. So if you simply take this and add 21 seconds to it
Where on the
and
screen
add
does it
29
say
seconds to it, so you get between 12:32.04 and 12:32.12.
What'd you say,
When you
Joel?
reconcile the two clocks and you have that range of 12,
Where does it say 12:32:04? I see 12:32:09. Oh, final lock event. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Oh.
So, all right.
Oh
all
yeah,
right, so
there it
this-
is.
right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Final
right.
lock event at okay, 12:32.
Okay, yeah, I got it. All right. So,
It
all right.
says
So, what,
here-
all right. So, all right. So, what he's doing here is he just explained the tech stream data for the event that happened on, again, key cycle 1162, which is on from the waterfall to 34 Fairview to One Meadows. And the second event being the quote unquote strike. And he's basically saying, like, well, we synced it based on John O'Keefe's data that Shannon talked about for the timing that event, the time that happened, it happened 19 minutes afterwards. Therefore, we synced it. Therefore, we found that the strike was actually at 12. What did I say? 12. It was 12:31:43. Then you apply the drift, and it gets 12:31:04, which is within the last lock time, whatever it is. So that's basically what he's
All
saying
right,
here.
but there he's saying final lock event at 12:32:09
Yep.
where user initiated by the user pressing the side button briefly.
Right. That happens within that. But he's saying that the final event happened at 12:31:43. Then you apply the drift, and that's where 12:32:04 to 12:32:12 comes in.
But how in the
that
heck
is
does
variance.
he press the side button briefly after he's been hit by a car?
Well, it's the variance. That's what he's saying, that the 12:32:09 happens within the 12:32:04 to 12:32:12. That he can't tell exactly when it is, but it's within the 8 seconds of 12:32:04 to 12:32:12.
But
So
even
it's somewhere
so,
within it. That's what he's saying with this.
right. But we'll argue about that. I mean, we don't argue, but we'll debate that later because
Well, again,
obviously,
this is assuming that 1162 is the key cycle in which this happens. That's
right,
based on what he's saying. So,
right.
what time? Hang on.
But again, if we're trying to
What's
argue
timing on this?
against all their crap that he wasn't hit by a car because the medical examiner said that the head injury was a life ending situation, or at least not lights out unconscious situation. So
Again,
how is an unconscious man
Well,
briefly hitting the side button of his phone and or opening up that text message from Jen McCabe?
yep, exactly. Well, again,
So
this is
I
what
can't
he's
wait
coming
till
up
he
with.
throw-
So,
yeah, I can't wait till he throws all that at him, you know.
well, that's what the defense is coming up with. So they're
Yeah.
gonna throw stuff in there. But okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, here we go.
123204 to 123214.
123212.
I'm sorry, 123212. Does that simply accommodate the window of data, but not before and after?
Correct. So, again, even on John O'Keefe's cell phone, even within his cell phone, there's somewhere between 21 to 29 seconds difference on his cell
yes,
phone.
see,
So even that
he's
one piece
saying
of
that there's
instrumentation
drift,
has some
so we don't
variance.
know.
So we know it's between 21 to 29 seconds at this approximate time. So this is taking into account that variance.
So the only time window that you have is based on the data, and that's reflected in the 123204 to 123212.
Sustained.
Is there any other window you can accommodate with the data you have other than that 10-second window?
Yes.
What's that?
So I was given information about a final lock event on the phone.
Let's stick with this window if we can.
Okay.
Since you only have 10 seconds of data, is it possible from the Lexus clock data to have a larger window than the 10-second window?
No, the text stream will only give you a 10-second window, but it doesn't tell the whole story because the vehicle's still moving.
Understood. Okay, continue, please.
So I have this other event, a lock event, and the information I was given at 12:32:09, and so we have the text stream data ending at somewhere between 12:32:04 and 12:32:12, which puts this number right in the middle of that, more or less.
Continue.
Is this
How
a good place to
convenient.
take luncheon break?
Yeah.
So why don't we do that, Tanner? So
Okay, all right. Can you fast forward to 2 hours? Right on the button.
We need to go to 2.
Yep, 2 hours.
Whoops. There we go.
That's good. Yep.
Don't put pink salt under your tongue unless you're really ready to stop looking like a
Okay,
whale swimming and see
Oprah.
your jeans falling off in just
Don't
one
get
week.
too
Today,
much
I'm here to teach you
Botox
how to make the
either.
I believe it's slide 25. And can you widen the left-hand box a little bit? And you mentioned you measured or you ran information about distances between different routes.
Correct.
Specifically regarding Fairview to Meadows, the first box. Do you see that?
I do.
There are 3 different mileage numbers. And then there's streets to the left. Can you explain what's set out in that box?
Sure. There's basically 3 different routes you can go: Sherman Street, Pleasant Street, Washington, and Sherman Street.
When you considered the shortest route, 2.3 miles on Sherman Street, did you attempt to determine how long it would take to travel 2.3 miles, how fast the car would have to be moving or how slowly it would have to be moving to travel 2.3 miles in 4 minutes and 15 seconds?
Yes.
And what did you determine?
So to go 2.3 miles in 4 minutes and 15 seconds, you would need an average speed of 32.47 miles an hour.
What if you took the longest route, 2.8 miles, and you considered 2.8 miles in 4 minutes and 15 seconds? Did you make a determination?
I did.
Could you share that with the jury?
It's 39.5 miles per hour.
Is that what the average speed of the Lexus would need to be to travel that distance in that
Correct.
car? Now, turning to your study of these text stream events, do you have an opinion, to a reasonable degree of engineering certainty, how many triggering events occurred? How many triggering events occurred in that ignition cycle 1162?
I'm going to allow that.
In 1162, the text stream recorded 2 triggering events.
And do you have an opinion as to the type of triggering event, the type of movement of the defendant's Lexus in those 2 triggering events?
I do.
Regarding the first triggering event, 1162-1, do you have an opinion, to a reasonable degree of engineering certainty, what type of event the first triggering event was?
I'm going to allow that.
The actual trigger was excessive rearward acceleration. The event was during the course of a 3-point turn.
And do you have an opinion, to a reasonable degree of engineering certainty, the time between triggering event 1 and triggering event 2 in that cycle 1162?
Yes.
And could you share with the jury your opinion to a reasonable degree of engineering certainty the time between those two triggering events?
Approximately 8 minutes and 5 seconds.
And do you have an opinion to a reasonable degree of engineering certainty as to the type and triggering event of the second event, 1162-2?
I do.
And could you share with the jury your opinion to a reasonable degree of engineering certainty the type of event to that second triggering event?
It's, again, the trigger event itself was transition into reverse and then high throttle application. It's a forward motion followed by a lengthy high-speed rear impact or rear motion.
Yes, I'm not going to highlight it.
Yeah, he said impact.
Get the answer again.
I heard him say
Can
that.
we ask the question again, Your Honor?
Yes, Mr. Leslie, yes, right. I'll strike the previous answer. Go ahead and ask the question again.
Okay. Do you have an opinion to a reasonable degree of engineering certainty as to the nature of the second triggering event, 1162-2?
Yes.
Could you share your opinion with the jury?
The trigger event was high throttle opening and a transition to reverse. It's a forward motion followed by a higher speed rear motion. And at the end of the trigger event, you're still at 74% throttle.
Do you have an opinion to a reasonable degree of engineering certainty the entire distance captured in that 10-second window during the back maneuver or 1162-2?
Do you have an opinion about it?
Do you have an opinion to a reasonable degree of engineering certainty about
Yes.
the entire distance that is captured in that 10-second window of the second triggering event, 1162-2?
So it obviously only captures what's going on during the trigger. It doesn't capture before or after the trigger.
Understood. Do you have an opinion as to just what is captured as far as the distance?
Yes,
And what is your opinion?
that it's 87 feet. So again, the initial forward motion is 34 feet, followed by crossing the initial point, and then backing up an additional 53 feet.
And finally, regarding this part of your analysis, do you have an opinion to a reasonable degree of engineering certainty as to whether the defendant's Lexus was decelerating, accelerating, or remaining the same at the end of that data captured at the triggering event 1162-2?
It was accelerating at 74% throttle.
In addition to your analysis of the text stream data, one final question. Do you have an opinion to a reasonable degree of engineering certainty the relative time this backing maneuver occurred with the defendant's Lexus that you just spoke about?
Yes,
And could you share with the jury your opinion to a reasonable degree of engineering certainty?
sure. It matches the window of the cell phone data for Mr. O'Keefe that puts it in front of 34 Fairview. So the backing event occurred somewhere between 12:32:04 and 12:32:12.
So now we're
You're
going
gonna
to
get
a
that-
different part of your study of this case.
Yeah,
Are you
hang on a
pause it?
second.
At some
Are
point,
you
Yeah,
pause?
let
did
me
you try to
pause it
determine
for a
whether there was
second.
an
I gotta
intervening
find
event
the damn,
that could have
I
caused?
moved it somehow.
If
Hang
your
on a
neck looks like
second.
this, you need to watch this video.
Heck it
When you
is.
sit at your desk or use your phone, your head protrudes forward. And for every inch your head
Stand
protrudes
by.
forward,
Somehow I
an additional
moved
10
the-
pounds of force is added to the neck. It's the equivalent of a bowling ball. Over time, the muscles tighten
Hang on a
and
second,
compensate,
guys.
and your neck gets
I accidentally moved the video, so hang on a second. I have to go find it again. I clicked on a wrong button and it sent it into a hidden zone. So give me a sec.
No worries. All right. So all right. So just to kind of recap what he said, he was basically kind of summarizing with his reasonable degree of, what did he say, of engineering certainty, because apparently he's an engineer, so therefore he can do all this stuff and make it sound like he's doing a whole bunch. So look at all this. What he's basically saying is that yes, there was an event and it happened out front, and it happened according to the text stream data, and it happened according to the data that Man Shannon gave him for Officer John O'Keefe's phone. Now, prior to that, he was talking about the distance from 34 Fairview to One Meadows and how long it would take to get there if you were traveling at certain rates of speed. And there were, I guess, 2 or 3 routes that you could take. One, you could get there in 4 minutes if you went 32 miles an hour. One, you can get there in 4 minutes if you're going 39 miles an hour. Now, I know this is an uncommon belief, but I think it's possible. It's not like you're saying like, well, she would have had to go 78 miles an hour to get there. It's pretty close. With roads like that, again, I've been to Canton. I've driven around the rink to get there for hockey games, and followed behind people to go to the 99, get back on the highway, go to somebody else's house from there, and we basically all follow one by one, and we're not going 30 miles an hour. We're moving, and again, it's the dead of night. There are lights all over the place, so it's not like you're driving in the middle of northern Maine or Alaska. But I mean, it's pretty much a straight shot, and I know there are videos of it online, so it's possible. So that's not the issue here. So that's not the hill to die on, trust me. So I know it's unpopular, but it is possible for that to happen. Now, okay, it was snowing, it was dark, she wasn't familiar, maybe, but I mean, there's a whole bunch of other shit too. So that makes sense.
Are you still hearing that weird ad?
No, nope.
Okay, good. I have to get rid of, I can't get rid of the tab. There's a tab playing something that I can hear, but thankfully you guys can't. And I can't get rid of the damn thing. I'm closing down like every tab I have open. And I don't know what the heck is going on. Some weird phenomenon is happening on my side. I'm glad you guys can hear. Chat box, give me a thumbs up or let me know if for sure that you're not hearing this weird ad that I'm hearing that I can't seem to get to shut off. And if anybody's techie and they can tell me what to do to shut this damn ad off, thank you. I'll take the advice because I'm only techie to a point, and when weird things like this happen, then I really need a technical advisor. Okay, good, Bert. I'm glad you're not hearing it. Somewhere in the background on my laptop, there is a stupid chiropractor ad playing, and I can't get rid of it. I'm just talking over it, but it's driving me nuts. So I'm glad that you guys can't hear it. So I'm going to have to try to figure out how to get rid of it. Where would you like me to go next in our video? I have to put it back up again because I shut it down so that I could try to figure out what's happening.
Let's see. Can you go to 2 hours and 25 minutes?
Yes, ma'am.
We'll talk about that for a little bit. So the next thing he goes to is the driveway at One Meadows and looks at John's Traverse and Karen's Lexus, and the video at 5:07 where it shows her backing into it. And again, he has to do the most. He did the most. He went there. He recorded it. He put his cameras on. He put lasers on. He managed to map out the whole entire area. He managed to find distance from certain stuff. He did a whole bunch of calculations with he found the shutter speed of the camera from, I think it's a Ring camera that he found. He found the shutter speed of that, and that's how he was able to find distance and speed of what her car was doing. Then he compared it to a video that he made, and again, he found the shutter speed and looked at it that way and determined that the speed of the car was, I think, 0.8 miles per hour, and therefore, then he found the angle between the two cars, and therefore, the
trick seniors can use to instantly clean toilets without any scrub. Take your most disgusting toilet. Yes.
Based on, I guess, the shutter
Overlaying
speed of the camera, because not once did he bring up force. And again, we heard later today that it was 8 miles an hour, according to him, that you would need to shatter a light. And hang on one second, I'll show you. Well, actually,
thank
go ahead and
God,
play
I
that.
just got rid of it. Hang on, let me pause this again. I finally got rid of that.
to the car in the video.
What's playing for you guys now?
So this is the video image.
Oh, it's playing.
That's the laser
What'd you
scan
say?
laid on top of it.
Yep.
So we
It's
know
playing.
all the dimensions in the laser scan. We know all the
Yep, you did the most
dimensions.
in the driveway. We get it.
in
You did
the
the most.
scene
You
of
did
this.
stuff with lasers. Good for you. You're an expert. You did the most.
We have the tire tracks.
Okay, I think I
We can
figured
create
it out.
and take data points along the tire tracks. Create a map of those. So green is the right rear. Again, the vehicle's backing out, coming.
Okay. Did it stop playing?
Uh-oh.
Did
Yeah,
it stop playing, Julie? Okay, good.
Yeah, it stopped playing.
Somehow there is a tab running on my laptop and I cannot figure out how to turn it off. I don't know where the damn thing is. It's not up on my space bar. So I'm listening to what we were playing before. You guys can't hear it, but I can hear it. and I, for the life of me, cannot figure out what the hell. So I'm going to
That's
try
fun.
to share, present, and get you guys going, and I'm going to end up seeing how this works, if I'm going to end up hearing both of them or what the heck's going to happen. So,
Are we going down with the ship?
no, we're good. I'm just trying to go back now and I'm going to share your tab, and hopefully that will maybe shut down this weird tab that's playing in my background that I can't figure out. 'Cause I need a technical director to come on and help me some nights when these wacky things go on. All right, so here's what you need. And this is at the 2-hour mark,
So
right?
Bert is saying,
You want it at the
what's
2-hour mark? 2-hour mark?
2 hours.
Say that again.
2 hour and 25 minutes. And 25 minutes. 2 hours.
The only
and
thing more
25
popular
minutes.
than is wild natural deodorant. Cherry blossom. Oh, I wish I could.
I'm gonna pull my hair out listening to these two things going on at the same
No?
time.
What happened?
It looks like if you overlay the computer model
Is it playing now?
of Miss Reed's vehicle onto the tire tracks,
All
oh,
right.
my
Is
apologies,
that
Your Honor.
playing for you?
Yep, it's playing.
Slide
Perfect.
89, and then I'm just toggling slide 89 where I turn the vehicle off, so you can see how the tire positions match up. Another toggle of slide 89, how the tire
Yeah, so right before this,
positions
he was
line
just
up
explaining that
before
he
the
was
end of
doing
the
the
snow
most
was.
cameras and lasers and pictures, and oh my God, he went to
From
the
all that
scene. So
information, again, we lined it up in the video, we lined it up in the scene, we have the two vehicles. We can get the exact position of the vehicles when that Lexus stopped. So when that Lexus stopped, that's going to be the maximum engagement. So from that information, we can get the angle of the vehicle. We can get the degree of overlap, the impact configuration. And it's hard to see because of the angles and because these vehicles are not at right angles to each other, the exact contact. Now, I mentioned, and we're on slide 94 now, that contact on the rear of the Chevy Traverse. So you can see we actually, and you can't see. So we took a whole bunch of data points within those two areas where the snow got dislodged. And we're looking at where that is. So if you look at that on the vehicle, so this is where it is on the rear of Mr. O'Keefe's Chevrolet.
Yep, he did the most.
I just want to make sure you guys are only hearing what's on the screen, correct? I just want to make sure I'm not driving you all nuts, like, because I'm still hearing two different videos going at once. I've been messing around trying to close all these tabs I have open. If everybody in the chat live could just tell me, yes, we're only hearing one thing. Just want to make sure I'm not driving everybody crazy. If that's the case, I might have to restart the stream when we take our break.
So Bert was saying to go to Task Manager.
Where's that? Remind me.
That's a good question.
Remind me where Task Manager is.
Shauna, you learned how to drive on a Chevelle? That's my favorite car. What year?
Oh, good. Okay. So Shauna, good. You only hear Welcher, so you're only hearing. So right now, just Julie and I are talking, right? And see, I can hear our old video that we were playing before, even though I stopped sharing my screen, I can still hear it playing, but I can't find it on my taskbar. It's like hiding somewhere. I don't know where the flip it is. Do a search for Task Manager. Got it. Okay, perfect. Because I don't know what the hell is going on. So let me take you guys back because you guys can keep going without me. I'll just block it out. There's something. All right, I'm going to take you guys back to play. There you go.
You see it's about 25.
There you go. You guys are playing now, right, Julie?
Not yet.
Okay. Bye.
1.5 inches above ground,
Yep, yeah, we're good.
32.5 inches above ground.
Play now.
Yep.
Great.
Here's Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle. So these marks are this is the Chevy Traverse words, are approximately right here. Again, I had the opportunity to inspect Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle. There's no damage where these marks are. So
no damage.
Sure, it knocked the snow off, but it wasn't sufficient to cause damage to his vehicle. We then mapped that data onto Miss Reed's vehicle to look at where that height is. So you can see the only contact marks are down at the bumper level. I mentioned how that bumper sticks out. This is exactly where you'd expect it. So the only evidence of contact is nowhere near the upper tail light. I emphasize the word upper tail light because it is right in line with the lower tail light. But yet the lower tail light also was not broken. So again, 25.5, that's 24 right here, 25.5. That's 24 right here, 25, 25.5. That's right where that scuff mark was. It's also right at, again, the level at the top of that light. This light is not broken. I've looked at the front of it. I've looked at the back of it. I've looked all around it. It's not broken, and it sticks out further than the light above it. So using those positions, matching the overlay of the vehicles, we can get the speeds from that. We know where the Lexus is. We know how much time it is between each frame. So we know how far it moved. And so what we know is that when it first came to a stop, right before that, it was going about 0.7 miles per hour. So realistically, somewhere between 0.5 to 1 mile an hour, just to account for some variations, but definitely going 1 mile an hour or less at impact.
Slide over, please.
Oh, thank you, Your Honor. Slide 99. That's the dimensions. Slide 102. Similar to what I said, no damage to that light, no damage to Mr. O'Keefe's Traverse in that area. And then if I could, I would like to go back because I realized I skipped over something. So this is slide 85. So this is Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle before contact.
Huh. Is that so, huh? Look, see, he did so much. So much. You should listen to him because he did the most. Yeah, see, Bert's right. Bert gets it.
I don't know what happened this time.
Just look at all the fancy photos, everybody. He did the most with fancy photos and lasers. Ooh. Now he's confusing himself.
The slide shows that there was snow here, now there's no snow there.
Dr. Walter, did you look on the driveway after the touching between the two cars?
This is my
to see if
favorite
you
part.
could see anything on the snow at the back of Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle?
So referring to this slide, this is after the Lexus has pulled away. Looking in the snow, I see nothing in the snow.
Were you looking for anything in particular?
Of course I was. I was looking for taillight fragments.
Yeah, of course he was.
In any of the
Right on it.
videos that you have that show Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle after the defendant's Lexus touches it, do you ever see any remnants or shards or fragments of taillight on the ground?
I do not.
When you did your analysis and study, trying to include or exclude this touching as the source of damage to the defendant's Lexus rear right taillight, did you consider speed as part of that analysis?
I did.
Did
I
you
consider speed, and then again, knowing we have the positions of the vehicle, we looked at the degree of overlap, and there's only about 2 to 3 millimeters of overlap between the vehicles, which is insufficient to cause the tail light that's recessed in from the edge on the right rear of the Lexus to contact the rear of the Chevrolet.
Considering all the data and analysis that you did you come to a conclusion to a reasonable degree of engineering certainty whether the right rear taillight of Miss Lee's Lexus was broken or damaged during the contact with Mr. O'Keefe's car at around 5:07 a.m. on January 29, 2022?
That impact did not break or crack that taillight.
Is that your
Better
opinion?
listen to him.
That's my opinion.
Is that
He
to a
knows-
reasonable
he knows the
degree
most.
of engineering certainty?
That's to a high degree of engineering certainty.
You mentioned there were 3 areas of study, and we've been through 2.
Correct.
Could you tell
Okay,
us
all right,
what
Kat,
you focused
can you
on
pause
on-
this?
Yep.
Okay, so what did we learn? This guy did the most, so therefore you should listen to him and you should lock Karen up. That's basically what this guy is basically saying. Okay, so what this guy did was, again, we didn't hear a lot of it because he's just basically, for lack of a better word, stroking it to his accomplishments and what he did with the camera and a laser and the pictures and, oh my God, look what I did here. So what he is basically saying is that he managed to decipher how far Karen Lexus traveled, how fast it was going, and looking at pictures, he decided how to align the cars to show how the cars would align. Hang on, let me pull this up. How the cars would align based on a little divot in the bumper, right over here. This is the bumper, right? A little divot in the bumper before the Lexus got there, and a little divot right here. And he managed to get that so that he, going on the snow, and did the most with the camera and the shutter speed to figure out distance and how far stuff moved, that he figured that the angle between the two of them was 106.7. And when you use decimal points, you know that you mean business. So 106.7 degrees puts you right here, and there's no way it could have struck. And if it would have struck anything, it would have struck the lower taillight and not the top taillight. And there's no way, because it got so close. Did anybody hear him mention force? Did anybody hear him mention the weight of the Lexus and the weight of the Traverse and how much force would have been generated? Reason why I bring this up, and I think further in this, or maybe I don't know if it came up here. I think it came up here where he mentioned that nope, that taillight would have only cracked or broken is if he was going above. If the Lexus was going above 8 miles an hour, and at 0.7 miles an hour, as Mr. Shutterbug says, that wouldn't have happened. Now I'm going to show you something. Kat, can you bring up my share screen? Back in November 2024, I was pulling my car up to my garage, which we've all seen from my little Sally Port experiments. And I went to go fill a tire, and backed it up, and I wasn't aligned properly. So I had to slowly, going maybe half a mile an hour, a mile an hour at most, slowly moved it. I thought I had enough clearance on the passenger side. Turns out I didn't. And what I ended up doing is I wedged a 6,000-pound Volvo up against my garage, which is stacked cinder blocks with wood and plastic on the outside. So it's not a 216-pound man. It's not a 300-pound tree. This is solid structure against solid structure. And what happened? And I looked at it, and I could hear something scraping. And I said, oh, shit, I think the taillight shattered, because I figured it pushed in and just burst into a pieces, because again, I'm used to the ones in the 80s that would fall apart if they're exposed. It's also it's 2008, so this was 16 years old at the time. So I said, oh, this is definitely busted. And I pulled it out, and there's a scrape on the side of the paint. It's all transfer. And I looked at the tail light, and this is what I have. Kat, could you bring up the screen that I have? Wait, is it sharing? No. Oh, no, not yet. Oh, what happened? Are we having a party? Am I by myself? Hello, world? You guys want to talk about something else? Oh, Cat's stuck. Okay. Well, that's all right. You guys can listen to me for a little bit. So, not once did this guy bring up any type of force, any type of angle that the Lexus would encroach on, or do a representation. With all his lasers that he had. He couldn't have done a simulation where he drives the back of the car to show any transfer of movement, because he clearly said the first thing he said was that the Chevy Traverse moved. Okay, well, how do you get the Chevy Traverse to move if you're just locked in on that one little piece? Will it move a little bit? Sure. At 0.7 miles an hour, will it move that much if you don't get into direct contact with it? I don't think so. He's talking about being clipped or brushed or whatever the frig he said today. Not going to happen. So, again, that's just going on based on what we're talking about. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about the blue paint, and rotation enters the chat. So we're going to talk about some rotation, and because rotation came in today, and this is the part that bothered me the most amongst him running himself over and everything else like that. Can you get back? I'm already up. Hang on. Kat, can you not hear? No, she's gone. She gone. She gone. It's my show now. Look, it's the Julie show. It's the Julie show with the blob. I'm going to entertain the masses while Kat's lost in the abyss with my with my sidekick. Sidekicks, do you want to listen to this guy on the stand talk about a whole bunch of stuff? And let's see if we can get Kat back. Let's see. Maybe somebody should throw a tennis ball into the poltergeist. You want to have your checkers moment? You want to do puppy break? Yeah, you want to do puppy break? Come here. Look. You want to talk to the blob? Blob, what do you think about all this? You want to have an adult tea party? What? Well, while we're waiting for Kat, does anybody have any questions about ridiculous nonsense? And my Bruins jersey? Hey. Well, are you back? You're back.
I think something funky happened because I was using that virtual background. Because the lighting's kind of funky in here in Daryl's room. So I wonder if that's not what happened, but because that was crazy. That was just crazy. I was literally listening to the video you were all listening to, and I was listening to the one we were listening to before. I mean, the first time we put it up, that was crazy. Sorry about that, everybody.
No, we had fun. What's with the pain? It's the meaning of life. Meaning of life is to do the best you can and learn from your mistakes.
Oh yeah, technology is amazing. I learned something new every time. I tried to use the virtual background for the first time last week, and I thought that was pretty cool because it actually helps with the lighting, because I'm traveling, so I don't have a light to bring with me. Like, I have really good lighting at my home office, but the virtual background really gives you almost better lighting. I didn't realize that because I'm still, I've been live streaming since July, but you learn something new every day on this StreamYard platform.
That's also the meaning of life.
Yes, the meaning of life. So where did we leave off? Where were you?
Oh, so this guy's blathering on about a whole bunch of stuff. All right, so what did you hear last? Did you hear so basically this guy did the most with lasers, and he took a bunch of pictures, and he determined with great engineering, whatever the fuck, that she couldn't have hit her taillight on his car because of a picture in a snow. And instead of using actual calculations, because he had lasers and he had the layout and everything to figure out where it would have connected and if this was possible, he just said, we saw snow. And so we lined everything up around a speck of snow on the traverse. Don't know what it was from. Don't know if it just fell when the impact happened. You don't know if that happened. Nope. They're saying that was the strike site. And therefore he aligned everything to that and did the most.
It's
and
crazy.
So,
it's mind-boggling.
And then also he said that he found a whole bunch of shutter speeds on a camera, and that's how he managed to find out that her car was going 0.7 miles an hour, and you need to have it go at least 8 miles an hour for it to crack. And so then I told the story about my taillight. And can you bring up my taillight?
Oh, absolutely. Let me catch up to the chat here just a second. So Shauna says, but Jewel, is this plausible to a non-knowing jury?
So that's just it. I think that's what Bob Alessi, I think that's what Bob Alessi was getting at today, saying that when he was talking, but again, see, sometimes he overdoes it. Like he was talking about Newton's second law, which is force equals mass times acceleration. And then he was talking about forces, and an object that's in motion stays in motion unless an equal, unless a force.
A body in motion stays in motion.
Yeah. And then, for every reaction, there's an equal but opposite reaction. So if you're driving this way, an opposite reaction is going to go this way to push back on you. That's what basically stops or causes collision, transfer of energy.
You and I were talking about that today, that how can he not bring up, though? I mean, it's still mind-boggling to me that they expect us to believe that Karen backed into his arm and that all those cuts are from the taillight, and the taillight, which is made out of polycarbonate, broke into 47 pieces. That, according to everybody I've seen on the internet talking about this, that is not possible, that an elbow cannot break a polycarbonate taillight.
Nope. And that's what Bob Alessi was talking about today, saying that, and I think that they're going to have somebody from either ARCA or somebody else in the realm of things basically say like, well, and that's, again, he was talking about saying like, well, what kind of force would be applied? That's why he made him do the calculations of saying, well, the force, what's the force if the mass and the acceleration is this, and the timing is 10 milliseconds. If you get a force of this, how much does it take to break your arm? How much does it take to break your hand in your bone? How much does this take to break? How long does that take to break? Are you going after Dr. Scotty Bello saying that she was in the wrong? Like he's laying all of this down now.
Yeah, he's laying the foundation. I wasn't laughing at you a second ago. I was laughing at Bert because Bert said,
"Oh, I know. I
learn something new every day and forget 5 other things." Yeah. Me too. Hey, this is the Boomer channel, people, the Boomer and the Gen X, because I'm literally I'm on the edge. Yeah, when that all was going down on JFK, I was laughing so hard because I'm barely a boomer. My mom is a true boomer. She was born during World War II while my grandpa was serving. Thank you, Grandpa Ray, for your service, and all other veterans. I saw something so beautiful today. I took this amazing when you come down the 75 from Chattanooga to get to where Mom and Pop are, which is in Cleveland, Georgia, you don't want to go all the way down to Atlanta, because then you have to go all the way back up north, because they are northeast of Atlanta. So when you're coming from when I'm coming from the south, I can do that. I can go around Atlanta and go up to Cleveland. But when I'm coming from the north, I have to take this beautiful road. There's 2 roads I can take. One is more curvy than the other. So I took the extra curvy road today. Probably wasn't the best idea with my back and with my vertigo problems, but it was beautiful. And it was literally just curvy. And I passed all these apple orchards and these beautiful farms. And I saw so many beautiful things today. It was really something, but I almost saw an accident. And of course I'm thinking, here I am listening to the Karen Read trial, and I almost was a witness to an accident, which I would have had to have stopped because I would have witnessed the whole damn thing. And I'm thinking, wouldn't that have been something? I just got my jury duty moved. I get called for jury duty the first time in my entire life and I had just talked about it. If you guys remember, I had been talking about how I had never been called to jury duty. Obviously, during my years as a police officer, I wouldn't have been, but I have not been in a uniform on duty for many years now. And I've never been called during those years. And then 2 days, I think it might have only been a day or 2 days. I'd have to go back and watch that live stream. My mom calls me and says, you got something, can I open it? Blah, blah, blah. It looks important. She opens it and they're calling me to jury duty. After I had just talked about never having been called to jury duty while I'm doing this Karen retrial. You can't make this stuff up. It's just, you just can't.
Yeah, I remember when that happened.
Yeah, that's just bizarre. It's just too bizarre. And then I almost saw an accident on this curvy road. And I would have stopped because I would have witnessed it. And I thank God they didn't collide. I wouldn't have been in it because I was braking and I was far enough back. But that was a really interesting way for me to come in off the 75. Was a different way than I normally come in to get here. And it's a good 2 hours on this very curvy road, but it's very, very unique and very beautiful. So, where were we in the chat box? I lost. Oh, I can't wait for the defense. Shauna says,
yeah.
Oh yeah. We were talking about the whole boomer thing and how, that the boomer love was on JFK last winter when I don't remember how that all came about, but I am barely.
I'll give you 3 guesses.
Yeah, I'm barely a boomer because I was born in 63. But according to the chart, it goes till 6. Some charts have it going till 64, and some have it going till 65. But my sister is Gen X. She was born in 68, so she's full Gen X. But it's just interesting how they come up with the names for these. I mean, I know why the boomers are called the boomers, because it had to do with the men coming back from the war and everybody was having babies, and that's your boomer generation. But I love all my boomers. I love my mother dearly, and all of my friends that are my mother's age and in between. Me and my mom and I are only 20 years apart. I just love that generation. And Gen X, yeah, you're okay. No, I'm kidding. I like Gen X too. But what are you, Julie?
I'm early millennial.
Oh, early millennial. Okay. I don't want you to give away your age, but I think you're right in the age group.
I stopped counting at 29. So,
well, I can't believe it that my oldest son, I think my sons are in the same, because they're only 2 years apart. I don't think one is on the cusp of the other. I'd have to look it up. I find all
millennials.
Yeah, I find that all fascinating. Yeah, my oldest son was born in 87 and the youngest one in 89. So, yeah, I mean, generally, I love all people. I mean, you can be friends with anybody, regardless of age. It just depends on how open-minded you are to understanding how somebody else, was raised, because, you're raised differently with technology now. The kids that are being raised now compared to even my kids, it's totally different. Everything's different because of social media and phones and computers. And it's fascinating. So anyway, sidetrack for a minute there to get our brains cleared. We needed to clear the palate from the magic show that is supposed to be science, right?
Oh, well, this is. I mean, now we're getting to the good stuff of what he did. I mean, this is just a lot of the stuff of like, what are you actually basing it on? Because he spent the most time on the tech stream and the 3-point collision, and this totally couldn't have done it. But yes, that's what I was saying before. Before you took your little journey to the other side, I guess. Would you mind sharing my screen? Because I was telling
I would love to share your screen. Here we go.
And how this guy says that you can't crack a tail light. So I don't know if you can see this. You could see wait a sec. Can you see?
We can see your cursor.
Oh, can you? Perfect. Okay.
I can anyway. Can you guys see her cursor moving? Because I'm in the studio with her.
Yep, I can see it. I can see it. Yep, I can see it on this. Okay. So like I said, I backed in. I mean, maybe going a half a mile an hour, maybe a mile an hour. I mean, it was very, very, very slow. So it's not so much the speed at this point, it's the mass, because force is mass times acceleration. So acceleration is how quickly you're moving with an applied force.
Julie, I'll be right back. I have to do one real quick thing.
No worries.
Yeah.
So what this is doing here is he's saying that taillights won't crack, or I'm not sure I think he said that you would need at minimum 8 miles an hour to crack a taillight, or to do what the final result of her taillight is. He didn't really explain that. I think that's where they're getting to that. That's what Arca said last year, and everybody keeps bringing it up saying, oh my God, this guy said that her strike with the Traverse wouldn't do that big gaping wound, that big gaping hole where basically all of this was gone by just striking the Traverse. That's not what he said, actually. What he said was it's possible to have a side swipe and it's possible that the taillight cracked, but it's not possible, meaning something else had to happen to that taillight for it to end up like this, aside from a forearm being struck or a pedestrian strike or something else. But so this guy's saying that it would have cracked. Again, if you look at this taillight, and it's kind of hard to see. This is the best shot I got at it, but there's a very faint crack right along here that, again, once you break the surface tension or the molecular bond between the molecules or between the plastic, it makes it a lot easier to crack. So she would have definitely, I mean, just having, again, two vehicles like that. And again, he's going on a pile of snow that may or may not have been even hit by the car. It might have just, from the collision, just slid down. And he's basing all his knowledge based on a picture of snow or video of snow. Get out of here. He has all of this knowledge. He has all of the measurements. He did all the things. He showed us that he was doing too much by doing everything. And oh my God, you have to listen to me. And then he didn't use any of it to do this. Like right there, that just goes to fraud. Like, what are you doing? In my opinion, that's my opinion. He had all of this at his disposal where he could have actually generated force to figure out, okay, if she's actually legitimately going 0.7 miles an hour at this particular angle. And again, we don't know if he's looking at it linearly, like she's going in a straight line, or she's traveling more of a distance. He didn't even tell us that. He just said, oh, I'm the best because I have all the things and I did the most. So therefore, based on this one piece of snow, this is where everything aligns. And as you can see, it totally doesn't align here. So he's doing some smoke and mirrors by saying, look, see, it's not possible. And I'm going to show you by this really shitty camera angle where I'm not even going to show you the actual collision. I'm going to show you the other side where you can't see where her bumper lines up to the taillight, where it actually shows that they come out. Her taillight comes out of the frame. Like this one here, like my taillight comes out and does this, where this is the end of the car, but the fender bumps out. Her taillight does something similar. And his taillight, I was behind a Chevy Traverse getting Dunkin' Donuts, and I looked and I was like, holy shit, she would have absolutely struck the car because his ass end comes out and jets out a little bit. So there would have been more contact than what this guy's saying. So that's all I got to say about that. Well, not really, but. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the fun stuff where rotation enters the conversation, and this part drove me crazy. So you guys are going to see me lose my mind. So okay, Kat, can you hit play, because I think we're at about the same part, 2 hours and 34 minutes.
Yeah, can you do me a favor though? I lost the private chat when I had to come back in the room, so can you resend me the link?
Oh, sure. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you go to 2 hours and 34 minutes, he starts talking, and then 2 hours and 42 minutes he talks about rotation. But again, you can put it on 1.5 times because he talks very slowly.
Bert says taillight was proctored. And oh God, I just wish we had like a surveillance camera from like the moon where we could see exactly what they did and how they did it. I mean, we sort of know, but oh man, I wish we had video of it. Shauna says, but what about RN coming for his sister and Higgs' truck? It's so weird. Oh, Ryan Nagel. Yeah, I mean, see, here's the thing. And Julie and I have been talking about this a lot, and Shauna, when we're off air, but Kathy and I have talked a little bit too, Kathy Cubs and I, but like I said, many times on live streams, Ryan and Julie and Heather, if they would have just like asked them for their phones so they could have proved when they pulled up and when they left, but they didn't even interview them. They didn't even see fit to interview the true witnesses, because the people in the house were not witnesses. They were party goers. They didn't witness jack shit. But Heather and Ryan and oh, you're okay. But Heather and Ryan and Ricky, they did witness a lot. They witnessed Karen Reed alone in her car with the dome light on. So where was John O'Keefe? Right? You're okay, buddy. I don't know, right? I mean, come on, where was he? If they didn't see him, if he's saying like what he said today at the end, I thought was super interesting. He said he was saying that the only vehicle out front was, he asked him what kind of vehicle, remember? And he said
Oh,
a
yeah,
Ford
yep.
truck. And he said, but they left before the trigger event. And I'm like, okay, how do you know that? How do you know when they left? How do you possibly know when Ryan pulled out that car? Because remember, he estimated that they were there about 5 minutes. And so did Ricky. So did Ricky and so did Heather. Because by the time Julie realized they were out there and she came out and they had their little convo, and then they said that they pulled past Karen Reed and that she had already moved up. And she was the only one they saw in the car and the dome light was on. What time was that? Right?
Yeah, that was 12:30.
They are the witnesses, because if they didn't see John in the car with Karen, she obviously hadn't hit him yet, because according to his theory, then she would have run right into, first she would have run into Higgins' Jeep that the kids said wasn't there, and then she would have hit the kids' truck.
And wasn't that interesting today that he said, well, based on other testimony, I guess that there was another vehicle there. And then Bev shut it down saying, yeah, don't talk about that. And they said, oh, we won't talk about the other testimony.
Right. And Bert's just saying now, Ryan and Heather and Lucky, it seems like their testimony has been dismissed. Like, yeah, Lucky's saying that there was a Ford Edge parked there in the morning at 3:30 a.m. Ryan, Heather, and Ricky saying that they didn't see John O'Keefe and they didn't see him go in the house and they didn't see him laying in the yard because he wasn't laying in the freaking yard. Nope. And these are your witnesses. Like, how are you dismissing the only witnesses that you actually have?
Well, also, so that's also trial one. Now we know that the jury doesn't know that, and this trial doesn't know that. So
I know that.
I think that's coming. But
Heather already testified.
Well, yeah, they testified, and I mean, I don't know if that's what they're talking about. I think the only ones that mentioned it was Ryan Nagel mentioned that it was a clear shot. Heather mentioned it was a clear shot,
but they didn't call Ricky. Ricky hasn't been called.
No. But I don't remember did Jen McCabe say there was a Jeep? The Higgy's Jeep was there.
Not this time around.
Not this time. Okay, that's what I thought.
Well, no, but she did. No, it was brought up. We'd have to go back. I'm going to pull that clip. Let me write that down. Well, I'll pull that clip for Friday Night Lies. She definitely said something to the, I don't know. She didn't say it like she did in trial one, which is a real problem because she leaned on it in trial one. And then she backed off of it in trial two. Does anyone else remember? I'm going to pull the clip up for Friday Night Lies.
I'm trying to remember.
Because this is all important. Because how do you get on the witness stand and tell us in trial one, all of us that watched it, that the Higgins Jeep was parked in front of the mailbox, and then now you don't say that, so the jury doesn't have the benefit of knowing that you lied, because your husband lied, and then Brian Higgins lied, and then Brian, four people lied about the Jeep being there in trial one, but the jury doesn't get to know that this time around.
Well, again, that's up to them if they want to bring it in. I mean, that's also the prosecution. Who knows what the defense is going to do? That's why I keep saying, I think that they're really going to call, if they had a choice between Proctor or Higgy, I think they're going to call Higgy because there's more payoff. Because then they could say like, hello, where did you park? Really? Did you leave before Karen did? Because according to your testimony and all these other places, you didn't, and your car was there. Did it move? What happens here with the 87 feet, 53 feet? Who the fuck knows? I think he originally said 87 feet, but then he said 53 feet from her original movement. And then he rejiggered it and said she moved up 34 feet and then moved back 54 feet. Right. But, or 53 feet, whatever it was. So we're going to find out.
MCAT says Judson has ODD, oppositional defiance disorder. Good one, MCAT. You're sharp tonight on a Wednesday night. Shauna says I could see
He's
that.
Got something.
Sure. All right. So for whatever reason, I went to the private chat and I'm not seeing anything. So the private chat is blank.
Try closing it and open it again.
I have no idea what's going on now. This is weird because I came back onto the stream and everything else is good. I can see all of your text, all of your chats in the comments, but for whatever reason, the private chat is blank.
Oh, do you want me to resend?
Yes.
Oh, you were talking about symbol. I'm sorry.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
I apologize.
I
I'm
lose the
sorry.
private chat when I have to come back into the room. When
Yeah,
I get,
yeah, one
I've never
second.
been bounced from my own live stream before.
we
But that was a first. So
You see that?
I think I bounced myself, to be honest with you, because I had to figure out how to close that window, and I was trying to minimize so I wouldn't close the StreamYard, but I had to get rid of that video that was playing in some other stratosphere. I'm blaming the PhD guy for this.
Well, his fault.
Well, yes,
It
I
probably
am.
is.
I'm in the North Mountains of Georgia, but Mom does have Wi-Fi, and I'm on her Wi-Fi, and it's pretty strong. I mean, it's looking good. So no, I think it was. I think somehow I hid that first video somehow in the background unwittingly, with my being over click happy, and I couldn't figure out where it was. So the smartest thing to do was exit myself out, and I'm glad I did it.
Oh.
All right, here we go. I've got it now. It's coming up. Pause it. Okay, let me come back. I'm trying not to be click happy this time so I don't make any mistakes. Okay, share screen. Here we go. We only got one tab open now, so that makes it a hell of a lot easier. Let's see. Allow. Sure. Go ahead. Show me notifications. I don't care. All right. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Yes. Perfect. Let me make it bigger for you. We have to get through this commercial.
2 weeks. If you are struggling to lose weight and you're over 25, then you need to hear
slide 85. So this is.
Where do you need me to go, Julie?
2 hours and 34 minutes.
Okay. 234. Close as I got you there.
Anatomy, your arm is defined from your shoulder to your elbow, and then from your elbow to
Oh
your
God,
wrist is
this
your
drove me
forearm,
nuts.
and then this is your hand.
Trying to tell me.
So technically, when you say arm, it really means from your elbow to your shoulder.
And you can speed
Most
this up a
people
little
call
bit,
this whole thing
because he speaks
arm.
slowly.
It's actually the upper extremity. Arm is from shoulder to elbow. Elbow to wrist is
He's
forearm.
redefining what an arm is.
I'm so glad
probably
you
8 or
played
10
this.
days ago.
Whoops, hang on a
changed
second.
8 or 10.
I just had to hit the wrong
fast
thing.
forward a little bit. That's okay.
Where was I at? Tell me. Here we go.
234. Yeah, around there. That's good.
Right,
That's good.
right around there. I'm so glad you played this because this drove me nuts today when he repeated himself like twice, teaching us the difference between the arm, the forearm, and the hand. And I'm like, dude,
Oh my God.
please, this isn't Mr. Rogers or
Yeah,
Sesame
you
Street.
wrong.
You wrong.
You
You wrong.
Typically, when you say arm,
Yeah,
it
Nurse
really
didn't
means
like it
from
either.
your
He's
elbow
like,
to your
oh,
shoulder.
I didn't know that this
Most
wasn't
people call
part
this
of the
whole
arm,
thing
but okay.
arm. It's actually the upper extremity. Arm is from shoulder to elbow. Elbow to wrist is forearm and hand. So you can see I wrote arm and forearm. So arm, elbow to shoulder.
Yeah, we get
Elbow
it.
to wrist is forearm. So looking at the injuries to Mr. O'Keefe's arm, forearm, as well as his hand.
Oh, this
So,
is my favorite.
this
my
is me.
favorite.
I'm actually
This guy did the most.
6 feet, half an inch tall. What you see in the upper right is the coroner's examination report for Mr. O'Keefe. He's 73 inches tall. That's 6 feet, 1 inch tall. At this time, I was 220
I
pounds.
got one.
Mr.
I got one,
O'Keefe, at the time of this incident, was
I need another
216 pounds. So I took measurements of myself. I'm actually wearing the same make and size shoes as Mr. O'Keefe.
Yep, he did the
The
most.
same brand of jeans
Somebody on
as Mr.
Twitter said
O'Keefe.
I was wearing the same
The
underwear,
same
therefore
brand
Karen
and
did it.
size shirt of Mr. O'Keefe. You see the Lexus in the background. We have matched the height to the Lexus. What I'm
Yep,
showing
he did the
here
most.
is both my height, and then keep in mind where the height of this wing is relative to my right eye.
Yep.
If you're over 35, be careful. This mixture can melt so much weight that it'll look like you got lipo. You look like a whale swimming.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
So
lady.
now I'm wearing, in addition, the same shirt and
Oh,
and
this
shoes,
is so weird.
same type of sweatshirt, and actually the same kind of baseball hat. We tried to determine the exact glass from the Waterfall Grill. Found out they were getting different ones at different times, but I ordered my glass from the same distributor that Waterfall Grill
Must be
ordered
nice
their
to have
glasses
money.
from.
Whatever you want.
So you can see in my right hand
Over
here,
$400,000.
I have a
apparently.
glass. Here's a glass. It looks similar. It's from the same location.
Yep.
And then in the lower right photograph, what I've done is I've rolled up my sleeve, taken the sweatshirt off, and I'm going to look at how this contact pattern lines up. So the first set of slides, I'm simply standing next to the Lexus. We know we have a broken taillight. We know how scratches on Mr. O'Keefe's arm. I'm seeing how those may or may not relate to the height and position of the taillight.
Dr. Welcher, if you could back up one slide, I have a question for you. In the middle photograph, at the top of the Lexus, there's like a rim. What do you call that?
I call it a wind wing. I mean, it could be a wing.
A wind wing, huh?
Okay, thank you.
Air dam would be another.
Or spoiler, like the rest of people call it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I then set about to do a little bit of testing with the Lexus. The first test you're going to see is me just walking backwards or actually sideways into the Lexus. What
All right,
I've done
Kat,
is
get ready
I
to
painted
Okay.
the Lexus right rear tail light with what's called grease paint. And sort of like paint, but it doesn't dry. And then I have backed up sideways, side shuffled into the Lexus with my arm out, see what the damage pattern looks like. Or basically where someone of Mr. O'Keefe's height's arm would contact the rear tail light.
I think he plays it again.
So then what you see is I've shown the photographs again. I show the paint transfer onto my arm. The yellow grease paint on my hand was to show where my hand would hit the taillight. And so just kind of me walking slowly sideways into it, the approximate location of the taillight, and I'll line it up with the broken taillight in a second, lines up with the approximate location of the lacerations on Mr. O'Keefe's arm.
Okay, Kat, can
Dr.
you
Welcher,
pause?
let me ask you a
Yes,
question.
ma'am.
When you're engaged
To
Okay.
your PowerPoint, where you are going.
All right, that's right. Can you go back to right before he does his paint transfer?
Yeah, it
Whatever you
keeps
call it.
messing with me tonight.
I think
mouse
that's about like 235.
Yeah, my mouse is so touchy tonight.
Yeah, around there.
Okay.
Okay, and then just play his little walking into.
Same type of sweatshirt and actually the same kind of baseball hat. We tried to determine the exact glass from the Waterfall Grill.
Yep, you did the
Found
most.
out they were getting different ones at different times, but I ordered my glass from the same distributor that Waterfall Grill ordered their glasses from. So you can see in my right hand here, I have a glass. Here's a glass. It looks similar. It's from the same location. And then in the lower right photograph, what I've done is I've rolled up my sleeve, taken the sweatshirt off, and I'm going to
All right, now watch
look at how this contact
he-
pattern lines up.
when he does his little transfer.
So the first set of slides, I'm simply standing next to the Lexus. We know we have a broken taillight. We know how scratches on Mr. O'Keefe's arm. I'm seeing how those may or may not relate to the height and position of the taillight.
Dr. Welcher, if you could back up one slide, I have a question for you. In the middle photograph, at the top of the Lexus, there's like a rim. What do you call that?
I call it a wind wing. I mean, it could be a wing.
Okay, thank you.
Air dam would be another. Okay, so I then set about to do a little bit of testing with the Lexus. The first test you're going to see is me just walking backwards or actually sideways into the Lexus.
All right,
What
everybody
I've
watch
done
what he
is I've
does.
painted the
Watch what he does
Lexus
when he
right rear
makes
tail light
initial
with what's called
contact
grease
and then
paint.
after contact.
And sort of
All
like paint, but it doesn't dry. And then I have backed up
Gotta shut up first, though.
sideways, side shuffled into the Lexus with my arm out, see what the damage pattern looks like.
Okay. All right.
Or
Stop that.
basically where someone of Mr. O'Keefe's height's arm.
Okay. Does everybody remember when we started this video how he was, again, he explained all of his credentials and how he does the most, and how he said that when he came to this, he didn't have a dog in this fight. He was just looking at all the data. He looked at the videos, he looked at the car.
Right.
He went to the scene because he's the most special person ever. He went to the scene. He did all the things. He took all the measurements of his occipital boner and everything else. And he said that he took all that information and then whittled it down into his fine point of looking at exactly what happened to reconstruct a scenario. Where in this did he say, oh, I managed to find, looking at her car and finding that there was a vehicle strike that would have happened, that Officer John O'Keefe was staggering about and bumping into the car and didn't touch any other part of the car, but only focused on the taillight? Because to me, what this looks like is, hey, I saw some injuries, and now I'm trying to show you with smoke and mirrors how it's possible to, quote unquote, crash into a car and do transfers so that the transfers match up with his arm marks on his arm. And I'm going to do so by not just standing and nudging into the taillight, but by saying I'm nudging in and then putting my forearm and then rolling to the side. In order to have rotation, you need to have a force that rotates. If you have 6,500 pounds hurling at you, I don't care at what speed, you are going to go this direction, in the direction of the car. So if the car is traveling this way, you are also going this way. So where the fuck does rotation come in? It doesn't. You need a force to rotate. And in the one where he actually gets hit by the car, you see him get pushed and then he sidesteps and twirls so he can make the pattern. This guy is showing like, oh, look, see, this pattern would have been done. So obviously it comes from the taillight. In no way did he come up with the hypothesis saying, oh, I suspect they're from the taillight, therefore let me try to mimic something. No, he's saying, look, smoke and mirrors. Oh, look at this, paint transfers. No, that's not what happens. Oh, and it gets worse. It gets worse. Okay, all right, go ahead and play.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, hang on one second. I want to read you something. Hang on, I got to go back to it. I just want to read you something real quick that I just happened to see on Twitter earlier, and I thought I took a screenshot of it. Hang on a second. I'm pretty sure I did. Yes. So, this is from the Young Jerks. Yeah, from Mike Crawford. Just heard from.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Can you hear me? Okay. Yep. Just heard from friend of a friend that Peggy and Jennifer McCabe are no longer good buddies. Is Peggy's Angels a defunct organization? Not confirmed with the second source. Rumor. So anyway, that I took a screenshot of that. I was going to mention it at the beginning to you guys, but maybe he'll tell us if he's able to confirm it with the second source or not.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, that's just kind of,
who knows, right?
Speculation at this point, but
yeah. All right. Am I supposed to hit play?
What's the time on this?
I don't want to move my cursor. I screwed it up last time. 2:36:49.
All right, can you go to 2 hours 40 minutes? Because we don't need to listen to his ridiculous nonsense.
This is the quickest way to clear out stuck poop.
Damn ads. I hate these ads.
I feel stuck. It's a stop.
The man is a
going. Well, we don't have that in this case. We don't know exactly where Mr. O'Keefe was on the roadway when this happened. Sorry, I'm about to go to the next slide.
Without having an exact point of impact or an exact speed or an exact body position, are you able to specifically replicate the actual collision in the way Mr. O'Keefe's body would move?
Exactly replicate? No. And again, in terms of how he would move, again, we don't know where exactly on the roadway he started. So in terms of how he moved, that's a function of where he started. We don't know if when he was clipped, he took an additional step before falling backwards. So that will change how far you are off the roadway. So
now
the impact, which you'll see in a second, even at 2 miles an hour, will induce rotation of the body. So depending on the speed, the higher the speed, the more rotation.
No,
So if I
incorrect.
may,
Incorrect. No, absolutely not. What he just said is wrong.
slide 111,
Don't
this is
rotate
simply
from something
showing
that's not there.
where I walk sideways, how this lines up with the location of the lacerations on Mr. O'Keefe's arm. Here's the post-contact scuffing on the taillight. Here's a picture of Miss Reed's vehicle on the right-hand side. So now I said, okay, that was me walking into the car. Let's have the car drive into me.
Okay,
I
all
did
right,
this
pause
at
this 1 second.
very low speeds.
Okay.
Okay, so he is going to show himself lining up, and he's going to tell the driver, hey, back into me. Watch what happens when he makes initial contact with the vehicle when it strikes him, and watch what he does with his feet. Okay, go ahead.
And you'll see, and we'll show this from two different angles. That's me showing I'm doing test 2.
Look at everybody see that? Pause that.
Pause.
Yep.
This is from a camera that we have pointing down at it.
Okay, did everybody see that? He lined himself up, the car knocked into him, and what he did was he body checked the car, pushing his forearm, and then rolled this way. Again, there needs to be a force for rotation. I forgot to bring my my football down, but okay. Greatest that ever did it. Tommy Brady threw beautiful, beautiful, beautiful spiral right on the bit. Right on the button. Touchdown galore, records galore. Greatest to ever do it. When he threw a football, he did not throw it like a shot put, where you push and you have a force going linearly in one direction. What he did was he gripped the laces and he applied force from his hand this direction, and then as he was releasing, his fingers would apply force to cause rotation. What rotation is there's a force this way, there's a force this way that applies, there's a force this way that applies, and there's a force this way that applies, which is what causes that rotational spiral. That's how you get rotation. There has to be additional force. Unless this Lexus grabbed onto him and held on and then pushed him.
Like a shark.
Exactly, like a shark or a dog or something, or there was a force field in the back of the Lexus that's apparently a feature where it would hold on to you and then it would push you sideways perpendicular to the force. So if the Lexus is going this way, it would push you this way. That's the only reason why you would get that rotation. So that this with the rotation at higher speeds and this and that is bullshit. It's absolute bullshit in my opinion. But again, he has PhDs and higher stuff and a master's. All this stuff is just more and more information about more specific fields. That's what a PhD is. But the foundation is laid in your undergrad. So physics, so the application of physics, thermodynamics, differential equations, calculus, all that stuff is all laid at the base, which means that every single person that has some type of undergraduate degree or focus in physics has all this information. This is basic physics knowledge. So just because he has a PhD in whatever, basic physics still applies.
Right.
This man is using improper whatever to, again, smoke and mirrors to show like, oh, look, see it all contacted and look, I would have been launched this way. No.
He's calling this a test. Like Alyssa called it an exercise.
That's the other thing too. What kind of an experiment or test or what is he showing? He is basically showing like, okay, even if this was an experiment to say, hey, how would this work? Number one, you would take a crash test dummy. What he's doing here, disclaimer, don't do this. Don't hit yourself with a fucking car. Don't go in reverse 24 miles an hour. Just please don't. Nothing good comes of it. And you can see.
Bert says this test is monstrous, by the way. JOK was not hit by a car.
Yeah, exactly.
I like the way Alessi called it an exercise, and then he just like jumped all over that it wasn't an exercise.
Yeah, like, no, I'm a professional. This was a test. Really? How was it a test? Did you have a hypothesis? Was your hypothesis, let's see if I can get marks that line up by just a static test, meaning I'm standing still and holding my arm out and having something, push me into it linearly? No, he's basically saying, let me body check this and try to like, woo, here we go. Gonna do smoke and mirrors. I'm gonna, gonna pull a fast one on you. I'm hoping that the jury gets this, because this is just so much. But if he did that, he would have had something like a crash test dummy or a blob, and he would have.
Right.
That's the only reason why you would have dressed up in his clothes is if you were going to put it on and you did a full strike. You would have put his shirt on, you would have put his sweatshirt on, you would have put his pants on to see if it would have ripped, if there would have been contact. You would have painted the whole entire rear of the car with grease paint to show transfers, and then you would have shown like, hey, this is what it would have looked like on his clothes, and then you would have put it on the blob or the crash test dummy's forearm, and then you would have, launched it. You wouldn't have started at 24 miles an hour. You would have started at 5, 10, 15, worked your way up to see what it looked like, and then you would have observed. This guy is not doing any of that. This is not the scientific method.
Right.
No, absolutely not.
MCAT says, OMG, Bert, the fact that Judd brought same clothing as John was out and out creepy. Yeah, exactly. Now, again, if you put it on the test dummy because you're going with weight of fabric, you're trying to make everything, you're trying to do a reenactment. So you're trying to make everything. I don't have a problem with that. It's that he put the clothes on. If he would have put them on an actor or on, like you said, let's use a crash test dummy. What an idea, right?
Yep. And he has one. Turns out he has one. So
right. And Shauna says taxpayers paid MCAT. He charged CW for everything. And then he tried to be sly and sneaky and say that they didn't buy the Lexus, but then Alyssa didn't let that go. And then he got him to admit that when they sell the Lexus, they're going to give the difference.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that was pretty sly and sneaky too. So
they're doing them a favor.
Let us not forget, because he says he went to the same manufacturer for the cocktail glass, but let us not forget, AJ, not a single piece of glass on that bumper could be connected to that cup, correct? Hanley, there was no physical match to the pieces I compared from the bumper to the glass cup. AJ, so another way of saying that is not a single piece of glass that you analyzed on that, and then it goes da da da. So dude, you didn't need to go to the same company and buy the fucking cocktail glass because there was no physical match to the pieces compared from the bumper to the glass cup.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, they may or may not have known that, but I guess to the point of this, but okay, Hank Brennan is already done with his direct of this guy. Now, again, he has another bite at the apple. I'm guessing that they're going to do a lot more based on the 2 weeks that they're going to have when the defense goes up, where he's going to, I guess, reevaluate and re-examine and re-experiment or whatever he's going to do. But for right now, he has not brought in the glass. He has not brought in his clothes. He has not brought in the grass stains. He has not brought in, so many stuff. He hasn't talked about the force. He hasn't talked about the force to crack the polycarbonate taillight. He hasn't talked about any of that. And he's done with his direct. So this is basically his whole entire case, and he's not talking about anything. He talked about a skull striking a hard surface. Where was the hard surface? I mean, unless you brought it up a little bit. Like, what about the garage? There was cement in the garage. What about the asphalt? Is that where he strike? Is that where he strike? Oh shit, they scored. I'm sorry. What the game's on? Is that where is that where that was? So, like, again, on his direct, he can't even tell you where his head struck. Oh, yeah, it's just so much. It's so much.
Let us not forget.
It's so much. It's so much.
Let us not forget. I tweeted this a couple days ago. You all do realize that this contradicts everything Lally was trying to get us to buy lock, stock, and barrel in trial number 1. And then you're also calling Ricky, Heather, and Ryan liars, basically. So it's just so bizarre that Hanky Panky is literally contradicting and changing everything that Lally used to try to convict her in trial 1. It's just mind-boggling. Right. There's your reasonable doubt. Yeah. Everything he testified to in the last 2 days just adds to the credibility of reasonable doubt. Because he kept saying, we don't know this, we don't know that, we can't be sure of this. I mean, he used those words so many times in the last 2 days.
If he can't be sure of where the location is, where he was struck, how he was struck, the angle that he was struck, the force he was struck, when it started, at the direction where he landed, then how the fuck did he come up with any of this? Seriously, how did he come up with any of this? Unless somebody told him, or he looked into what Trooper Paul said, and they said, you know what, we don't want to bring Trooper Paul in, but hey, how about you do something similar? Like, let's look at this. Let's look at the taillight. Like, it seems like they just watched what was going on in the attic and was like, yeah, that's, let's go with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So where do you want to start on Friday Night Lies? Do you want to start here where we're leaving off now, or do we go right to just start with the cross?
Hang on one second. Let's see. Talks about insurance. Oh, talks about injuries. I mean, there's not that much left in this.
You want to finish this up so we can just do the cross on Friday Night Lies?
I mean, we could just skip around a little bit just to get a flavor. If you go to 2 hours and 47 minutes, I mean, this is just nonsense. I do want to talk about the skull, though. I want to talk a little bit about the skull. I mean,
2 hours 45, you said?
2 hours 47, or close to it.
47. I'll get you as close as my little mouse.
That's good. That's good.
Okay.
Don't mix salt with these three ingredients if you don't want the
Right.
Mounjaro
Just
effect
tell
on
me.
your body and your pants loose in a week.
Yeah, because
why
today's
are
cross,
companies still making
today's
billions?
cross was
How the approximate location of the
4 hours
fractures
total, but it
in
was
the
like 2
taillight
hours
match up
because
with
they
the
argued
approximate
for a lot of
location of the
stuff.
contact
Right.
of the arm onto the taillight.
Dr. Welcher, do you have any
Yeah, so it was basically like,
indication
well,
of
we think that there
how
was a
Mr.
car strike
O'Keefe's
because
arm
there was
was
a
bent, what
3-point
angle it
turn,
was
and
bent at?
therefore Officer O'Keefe
Not
had
exactly,
marks on his
but
arm,
for
so
these
make
to
it match.
be
Hang on a
That's what he
second.
did.
We can't hear you very good
Oh,
when
I'm sorry,
that
I'm sorry,
video's playing. So say that again.
Yeah, so basically what this whole entire thing boils down to is there was a lot of stuff. People guessed that it was a car, a motor vehicle incident with the Lexus and Officer John O'Keefe. So therefore we have an event trigger time in the key cycle. That's a 3-point turn. And then Officer O'Keefe had marks on his head and his arm. Therefore, make it work on this Lexus. And this is basically what this guy's doing, saying like, look, see, it matches perfectly. Doesn't explain the taillight and how that would have happened, which is what Alessi was getting at, saying, how much would your interaction be with the taillight if your arm was there half a second and then you went through the mess today? But this is basically all that he's saying. This is, again, not an experiment, in my opinion, but I, as a scientist, am saying this is not an experiment.
Right.
This is
okay. Let me read you 1 hour ago, Joe Flipperhead, who follows this case on Twitter X and has been very vocal and had tons of amazing videos up. If you want to go on Twitter X and take a look at him, that's his, his fake name. How many feet do you believe the Lexus went in reverse based on your PowerPoint presentation? That was Alessi's question to Welcher.
Yep.
Welcher says, your question doesn't make any sense. And then Joe Flipperhead says, this is what 400,000 gets you.
Yep.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
pretty
Thank
much.
you, Joe. Thank you, Joe. Okay.
I think that's how they ended today. Where it's like, no, it doesn't make any sense. He's like, but you said that you went directionally this way, and then you went this way, but you started from this point, and then you said 53 feet from this point. It was like, yeah, because you add this and you add this, and that's how you get 87. That's total distance traveled. It's like, but how far did you go at this time? It was like, no, I can't tell you that because we don't know exact times or when this started, but I could tell you that he went this and then this. Ridiculous.
It is. It's just insane. All right, here we go. Oh, geez, there goes that darn. It's my mouse is so touchy tonight. I don't know what the heck's going on. 45, right?
45, 47. That's okay. Yeah, around there somewhere. Oh, that's where we were. Okay, that's all right.
Is that all right?
That's good. Yeah, that's good because it's good to watch again. Watch his feet. Watch his feet and watch the forearm.
About 2 miles an hour.
Look, see, he hip checks it. Put his shoulder into it.
Oh, okay. All right, so that's noted, Mr. Alessi.
Is this sped up?
So similar to the other tests, this is the post-contact image of the transfers onto my arm. Actually, this yellow paint,
Let's just go into
you can see from my hand is here. This is from the arm and forearm. Here's the paint transfer pattern.
And that slide number,
I'm
Dr.
sorry,
Welcher?
I'm sorry with that.
That's
Slide
okay.
116 now. That was 115.
Thank you.
Slide 116. What I've done is I've taken these yellow lines to show the extension of the components on the rear of the exemplar Lexus. Then I've done this extension of those same components on the rear of Miss Reed's Lexus and shown how the approximate location of the fractures in the taillight match up with the approximate location of the
Look at that
contact
shot on the-
of the
on the
arm
right.
onto the taillight.
Okay, he's showing the light and it's
Dr.
matched
Welcher,
up to
do you have any indication of
the
how
autopsy
Mr.
photos.
O'Keefe's arm was bent, what angle it was bent at?
Ridiculous.
Not exactly, but for these to be taillight shard fragments, they would need to be in the area of the taillight, but it could be further up. We know from the police photographs that there was a damage to the rear body panel in the area I'm searching here. So it's possible his arm was a little higher up and the glass hit the rear of the Lexus and caused that damage.
In the bottom right.
No, that would have been a hammer.
I will strike that last part.
Proctor's hammer.
That's
caused
the
that
first
damage.
time they
The purpose of
mentioned
the circle
the glass,
is
right?
for what,
That's
Dr. Welcher?
Right.
To show, in this case, primarily the
that's the
location of the
first time they mentioned
lacerations
that.
up on the arm,
The
the upper part of the
the-
arm, and that they match up with the locations of at least the one remaining
vault
shard
above the
in the rear
taillight.
taillight of Miss Reed's Lexus.
Next to the windshield wiper.
Looking at the picture of the Lexus, bottom
The
right
window wiper.
middle, are there any marks on the Lexus itself that you took note of?
Yes, it's on the next slide.
Thank you.
Actually, it's 2 slides. So there, again, this is the evidence marker. There was a horizontal scuff. We know Mr. O'Keefe had blue jean type pants on. There's a scuff in the area that would approximately correspond to hip level for Mr. O'Keefe.
So hit his hip
Yes, ma'am, 118.
and nothing else.
Did you describe what you saw on the bottom right-hand corner photo as
But
well?
didn't touch.
I believe, yes, I did.
Of
That's
John
the
O'Keefe's
scuff
reverse.
that lines up with the approximate height of Mr. O'Keefe's right hip.
Okay, all right, enough of
So
this.
then
All right,
I
go to 3
included-
hours.
Previous image that you've seen, slide
It's
119,
ridiculous.
with the reconstructed
Yeah, so
photograph
he's
of the
doing
rear
smoke
taillight,
mirrors.
showing where some of the fragments are.
3
You can
hours.
see where those fragments
close to it.
are
Yeah, there you go.
relative to where
I was
Oh,
babysitting
these
for a very
photos
famous
are
family,
nuts.
a
All right, so
billionaire
now we
women
gotta
in
talk
Los
about
Angeles
head injury
that you sure
and
know. Whenever my
skull.
bosses had to travel,
the hat line you can imagine is where the brim of a hat would be. And what it is, it's literature that's looking at where head injuries from falls commonly occur.
I moved to strike that.
I'll strike, I'm going to strike. I'm going to strike.
Removed from the screen.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay,
So that was
something
slide
else.
131.
No, that was 132. I moved it, as you said, take it out of the screen.
Did not take that into consideration.
So jurors, when I strike something, that means don't pay any attention.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Continue, Dr.
Jurors,
Welcher.
don't pay any attention to the
So
last
you know, I need to
days.
go past that
Thank
slide.
you.
Okay, go ahead, go ahead.
This is the next slide.
Okay, if you can continue.
Sure. So I provided peer-reviewed scientific literature that looked at a metric where they were publishing research trying to delineate falls versus blows or assaults. And so this metric is in that scientific literature. They looked at a total of 400 different events, 235 falls, 165 assaults. And so you can see where it says mandible. So mandible is your lower jaw.
Can you enlarge that a little bit, please?
Your Honor, pardon the interruption. I'm moving to strike.
Yeah, let's take that slide down. I'm going to see you inside, please.
I want to see you at
Oh, Jesus
sidebar.
Christ.
Dr. Welcher, if you could return to slide 132. Actually, 133, Dr. Welcher.
Is that me or 132 or 133?
133, please. The next one after that.
So we did skip over 132.
Hey, Kim.
We skipped over that one as well.
Kim says, I'm sure the jurors are as confused as I am after the last 2 days.
You're gonna have to rewind afterwards.
Now, you mentioned that there was studies that talk about
We went over as much as we could,
difference between mental injury.
Yeah.
trying to make some sense of it.
Sure.
We
So there's
did.
three
I think
papers
you
and
made amazing
someone's
sense of
dissertation
it
on this
tonight.
issue.
And
They were
our live
creating
chat was
a
great.
analysis methodology to differentiate whether the nature and pattern of injuries are more consistent with a fall or more consistent with an assault, or they're calling it blows.
Yeah, that's assault.
That's assault.
Yeah, that's assault.
Sure. So this is their flow chart in terms of their assessment. So it starts at the very top. You can see they analyze a total of 400 events, 235 falls, 165 blows or assaults. So what you do is you ask yourself on the first set of arrows, you look at the mandible, the jaw.
Who's paying me?
An MRS, as you can see at the bottom down here, refers to a simple fracture or multiple fractures. A is no fracture. Mr. O'Keefe has no mandible fracture. So that means we go down this row. It then looks at all facial fractures. So these are the bones that constitute the face. So if you have a facial fracture, you go to your left. If you have no facial fracture, you go to the right. So if you have some event, no mandible fracture, no facial fracture, what they've indicated that is predominantly associated with falls and not assaults.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
In addition, did you do any further study on the force of a person falling back and landing on
boy,
their
this is
head?
my favorite
I
too.
did. So
Oh, yeah.
what I did was I did what are called drop tests. I took an anthropomorphic test device, ATD, which is just a fancy name for a crash test dummy, and dropped it
That he didn't
backwards
hit with
onto
the
a hard
car.
surface.
That he
to look
didn't
at
think
what
it was
happens if you,
suitable
say,
to
fall
use
backwards
with the
and hit your
car.
head onto a hard
Right.
surface. So on this
Because he
particular
couldn't control
photograph
the narrative.
of Mr. O'Keefe in the upper left, there's noted
Well,
to
if
be
you hit it with the
abrasions
car, I'm
above
pretty
the fracture
sure
line.
what he did
in
with
the
the blue
area-
paint doesn't happen,
You can't see that at all.
in my opinion.
You can see
In my expert opinion.
As an expert blogologist.
noted to be abrasions
Blog
right here.
and blob.
Blob,
Your Honor, I
blob,
thought-
blob's the other guy.
That was
Blob
only used in
and
the testing.
blog.
May I put it on and demonstrate something?
Mr. Lacey?
Yes, let's put it on and demonstrate something. Throw yourself to the ground.
That's a stage. No, you can't.
Okay.
No, you
So,
can't put it on. You can't put it
I
on.
will show you the demi test I did. Watch when the shoulders
like
hit the
the,
ground and the head
jump
hits the
from
ground.
Drag
It creates
Race.
kind of an arc path.
I can't
that
face
will
it. What is it you can't face?
drag and slide objects up the head. So if you have something such as a
You know-
baseball hat, it'll cause it.
Sorry, but what else it reminds me of, and any of you that love old movies like I do, because we're boomers, the movie Singing in the Rain, and she, it's about it. Well, if you haven't seen it, you youngsters, you must watch the famous musical Singing in the Rain. And the woman, they were still making silent movies in this picture, and then the talkies come out, and the woman who is supposed to be the lead with Gene Kelly has a very nasally voice and she can't sing. So the star, oh gosh,
Was it Debbie Reynolds?
Debbie Reynolds, thank you, my God, I love her. Debbie Reynolds ends up dubbing for her. They convinced Debbie Reynolds to dub for this woman so that so that this movie can go off. And when they're having her practice, one of her lines in the movie is she has to say it over and over, and she has to say, I can't. She's supposed to say it very dramatically. I can't stand him, but she can't do it because her voice is so nasally, and it comes out as, I can't stand him. So whenever I hear any of this type of anything that reminds me of that, I just crack up laughing, and then I have to go back to the movie because it's such a great movie for the time it was made. So she would say, I can't stand him. And so every once in a while when Judge Bev like over extenuates the I can't, because she was supposed to say it real regally, like that, you know, I can't stand him. But anybody who's seen Sing in the Rain, they know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen it, you think I'm a moron, but please watch that movie. Do yourself an education and watch some of the old, really amazing musicals that were made, because you won't be sorry. Trust me, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I've just seen like from like Debbie Reynolds and Carrie Fisher, her daughter, did a bunch of documentaries where
Yes.
they go through all the old movies and they keep playing it. That's where the song Good Morning, Good Morning.
Yes,
That's
I
right.
love that song. I sing that song to Tanner all the time. That's one of I watched that movie for the very first time when we lived in Milwaukee. On Saturday nights, my mom used to let me stay up because I was 5 years older than my sister. I got to stay up on Saturday nights, and they used to play the old movies on channel 18 in Milwaukee. Any of you that have ever lived in Milwaukee, you can relate. So there'd be different ones every Saturday night, always the musicals, the really classics, Oklahoma, South Pacific, you name it. And so I first saw Singing in the Rain when I was in 4th grade with my mom, and I've watched it. I wouldn't even want to count how many times. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. You have to see it, Julie. We have to do a movie night some night, and you have to watch Singing in the Rain with me.
Well, I'm a big fan of Debbie Reynolds and Carrie Fisher. Not the Star Wars stuff, but like Carrie Fisher stuff, like the movie Soap Dish. Like I know it's not in vogue now because of some of the stuff they do, but that's such a good movie.
Right.
Hello.
Okay. Caption this, chat. If you're still with us at this late hour Eastern time, caption this. I get the kick out of those on Facebook and on Twitter X where people.
Oh, the screenshot.
The caption. Yeah. Caption this. Oh gosh. All right. There was our little sidebar to the final here before we all say goodnight. Let me go back and put that on.
To drag across the scalp, dragging it up to a similar location to where these abrasions are. So here's the testing. Again, this is it's crash test dummies you see on television.
He places his hands for the
myself.
crash test dummy around the head.
They're giving me similar instructions, telling me what we're going to do.
So he's holding the crash test dummy. He's
I saw that.
Shoulders come in, then the head contacts the ground.
Okay.
What you see is if you fall backwards and land on a very hard surface or hard surface, you'll get extremely high loads on the head.
Kat, can you pause this for 1 second?
Oh, sorry.
Don't mix salt with these three ingredients.
Quiet, lady. So when he dropped the crash test dummy, hang on 1 second. Let me hang on.
Let me skip this.
If you don't want the Mounjaro effect on your body and your pants loose in a week.
Damn ads. There we go.
If you compare that to.
All right. So I knew the Nagel blob would come in handy for other stuff aside from just comic relief. So what he's doing, for God knows whatever reason, he's holding the crash test dummy. Instead of holding the crash test dummy let me see if I can get it in shot. Instead of holding the crash test dummy from the shoulders up here, he's holding the crash test dummy up like this.
I saw that,
and then holding it like in a strange position in the lower part of extremities for some reason. And when he's dropping it like this.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, he's bending the head back. And I think why he's doing that is to accelerate the G-forces. So when the head snaps back, it will snap. And then that'll be the last point that it hits. Instead of just dropping it from the shoulders like that and free falling.
Right.
It's what you're supposed to do. But again, I picked up on that and was like,
even so,
that's going to mess with your numbers.
Right.
In my opinion.
But even so, if you do fall backwards, whether you get pushed or shoved or you slip on the ice, whatever causes that motion to send you backwards and you hit your head on the ground, it's bad. I mean, it's not good. It's never good. I fell forward once and hit my forehead on the ground. And I had a concussion. I had a bad headache for like 2 weeks. And my friend Jeannie just recently fell forward, hit her forehead on the ground, and it forced her neck back. And you guys know from my past lives, she broke her C1 and her C2. She's still in that nasty old halo. So yeah, I mean, hitting your head hard on the ground, whether you've been pushed, shoved, punched, or you slipped on the ice, or in Jeannie's case, she tripped on the pavement of my driveway where my grass meets my driveway because there was damage from the hurricanes. So we've lost some of the grass level that used to meet the driveway even. So that's how she tripped, stubbed her toe, and then just lost her balance and hit her head on the driveway. So, head injuries are bad. And so in that sense, what he's doing doesn't matter anyway, because it would matter in that he's helping to kind of bring the point home that if, like we believe, John O'Keefe was punched or shoved and fell backwards and hit his head on the basement floor, that's what caused his injury. And it can be that bad, just falling from your own height with some projection having caused you to fall backwards and you hit your head on the ground on a hard surface. It can cause a very lethal head injury. So he's not wrong in that capacity.
Yeah, so and Bob Alessi got into this a little bit too. Terms of endearment. I know that's a good one, and
yes.
Also the one that she did with Meryl Streep and Shirley MacLaine. Postcards from the Edge. That was a good one. It was supposed to be the story of Carrie Fisher and what's her face, with an all-star cast, like A level, like creme de la creme. That's a good movie too. But yeah, that's good. But yeah, so with that test, so Bob Alessi talked about it today too, a little bit in the cross, and he didn't get too much into it. And I think the reason why, and think Emily D. Baker brought up this too, which is like, talk about the fall, because this helps the defense by saying that if you fall, it absolutely, the force generated could, cause your skull to fracture.
Right.
But what he's doing here, and again, Bob Alessi said that when you fall, there's only a vertical force. So, for example, if he were to actually have been struck by a vehicle, and he would have been struck from here, he would have been thrown, and he would have traveled horizontally in a tremendous force, going 24 miles an hour or whatever it may be, but going a tremendous force, being struck by a car. But vertically, he would have still fallen 74, 73 inches, depending 6'1", 6'2", 74 inches vertically. So that force doesn't change. The percent of how much that would change based on how he fell, if he fell an angle from a shorter distance to the ground, as opposed to standing straight up and down, falling straight back 74 inches. So that 100% capacity of vertical would be 74 inches down to the ground, but there would be a certain percentage of whether he got pushed and then fell, if he, got pushed and lowered himself down to 3.5 feet or whatever the case may be. But that maximum capacity drop is at 74 inches, which is why he dropped the dummy at that point, and why I did my test with coconuts, which we might get to on Friday, to show, hey, listen, the maximum drop vertically would be a drop from 74 inches straight to the ground, with the acceleration due to gravity and the mass of the coconut or the skull going down, and depending on the surface it's dropping on. Now, he got into a little pissing match with Alessi today, talking about, no, it's not the acceleration going to the ground, it's the ground that actually does the most damage, because it's not what's dropped on it, it's what the surface is, which is incorrect. It's the amount of speed and acceleration and force that you're dropping from that creates the contact with the surface. And then depending on the surface, if the surface is has compression, if it's soft, if it's hard, that's gonna push up depending on the type of surface, and that's gonna cause a fracture or a dent or concussion or whatever the case may be. So we'll talk about more of that on Friday, but I just wanted to show this, and then he gets into a little bit more, but he doesn't.
Hey, MCAT, welcome back. We're just about wrapping it up for tonight.
I mean, I don't know if you want to play like 1 or 2 more minutes just to clarify what he was doing, but that's basically it.
Absolutely.
Grab my phone.
Data in the site? Yeah. Oh, sure. This chart up here? Right. Absolutely. So this is actually kind of a famous study that was published, one of the first studies looking at head fracture or skull fracture tolerances. So what you see, the portion at the back of your skull is called the occiput bone.
The occiput boner.
Put your hand
The
in the back of your
occiput
head,
boner,
your occiput.
everybody.
So we're looking at occiput impact.
You've heard it
And
here
what you can
first.
see is that
occiput
when they
boner.
took cadaver skulls and dropped them from as low as 40 inches onto a hard surface, they were getting linear fractures. And you can see even at 40 inches, there is called a stellate fracture. Stellate means star-like. You get a fracture that goes out like a star. So even at a 40-inch drop height, you have sufficient force when landing on a hard surface to cause skull fracture and a level 3 type skull fracture. So Mr. O'Keefe, again, is 73 inches tall. His occiput is about 4.6 inches down from the top of his skull. That means it would fall a total of about 73 minus 5, 68. So just under 6 feet. So 72, 4 inches under, so 5 foot, 8 inches is the fall height. What is data showing that even at a fall height as low as 40 inches onto a hard surface, you can get fairly severe skull fractures.
He's making the case for the defense with that.
Yeah, absolutely is. That's what I thought.
You do
Yeah.
come to a conclusion to a reasonable degree of engineering uncertainty whether or not the defendant's Lexus collided with Mr. John O'Keefe on the evening of January 29, 2022, around 12:32 a.m.
Yes.
Before you give me your opinion, I'd like you to share with the jury what that opinion is based on.
So this
What's
is gonna be
really
his
going
summation.
on with the government's tariff policy? I'm recording this message from the epicenter.
Sure.
He did
So,
all the tests,
based on the
and this is
130
his
slides you've
summation
seen,
based on all
based on
the
my personal
experiments that he
inspection
did,
of the
and
Lexus,
recreations that he did.
the correlation of the tech stream data with the infotainment data as well as Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone data. It's looking at, I guess, where the taillight wasn't broken. It's looking at the physical evidence at the scene in terms of taillight fragments, glass fragments, red color in the snow. We have the cell phone data, the location and position of the arm lacerations, the air temperature at the time indicative of sufficient to freeze, the location of the fracture on the back of his head relative to the scientific literature, my testing of forces available falling onto a hard surface.
What
published
forces? I haven't heard
science
forces.
on the fracture forces associated with falls. I'm sorry, I'm reading from my report. I'm reading from my report.
Can you answer without reading from the report?
No.
Probably it's more complete if I read my report.
Any objection, Mr. Leslie?
I do on this question.
There it is. Do you want to object, Mr. Alessi?
So, you have to read it. Don't let me read.
Okay.
Okie
Okay,
doke.
Dr. Rutger, let me ask you again. Based on your analysis, data available, reviews, study, based on the fact that you are an accident reconstructionist and a biomedical engineer, have you reached an opinion to a reasonable degree of engineering certainty whether the defendant's Lexus struck Mr. John O'Keefe on January 29, 2022, around 12:32 a.m.?
Yes.
And could you share the bases of your opinion before I ask you your ultimate opinion?
Sure. So again, you've seen my slide presentation. I've inspected the Lexus. I've looked at where it wasn't damaged. I've inspected the taillight. I got an exemplar Lexus. I ran lower speed contacts to verify that the injury pattern and location on the arm is consistent with the height and orientation of the taillight. I have looked at fracture tolerance data for falling backwards onto hard surfaces. I've looked at the metrics of where his injuries were and what injuries he didn't sustain. I've looked at the cell phone data, and then I've looked at Ms. Reed's interviews as well.
Based on all the evidence you considered,
The
could you
expert
share with the
opinion.
jury what your opinion is to
Yeah.
a reasonable degree of engineering certainty about whether the defendant's Lexus struck Mr. O'Keefe on January 29, 2022, around 12:32 a.m.?
Yes, based on the totality of the evidence, DNA, everything I talked about, that is consistent with that happening with a reasonable degree of scientific
Where did
certainty.
he bring
That is
DNA
what
in?
happened.
Yeah, DNA.
Right, that. Let me see counsel's
What does that have to do with what you do?
Dr. Welcher, we have to go back tomorrow anyway. I don't want to see it.
Yeah, all right. So that's basically it. So, okay. So then
What
today
do you
they
need
go
some
over.
DNA in there for?
Well, he did the most. He did the most. He didn't tell the jury. He didn't tell the jury about everything that he supposedly did, but he did the most.
Right.
He did the most. He found all the evidence, but he didn't show any of it. He didn't talk about any of the forces. He did an experiment. He found some research in the literature that says, "Yep, you could crack your skull from this." He looked at pictures. He did the most with lasers. He did the most with pictures, and he said, "Yep, I hit myself with the car. I took a whole bunch of pictures and made this presentation and said that, yep, this happened. She hit him with the car." And then everybody bitched and lost their minds because he wasn't supposed to say that. So then today we saw what happened with Bob Alessi. And again, it was Trial Channel, which is what we were just watching. Thank you, Trial Channel. Trial Channel put out today's, which is 4 hours. But it was actually like an hour and a half, 2 hours, because all they did was argue over stupid shit. Like essentially the message from Sue O'Connell, where she said it was literally half an hour disputing things that weren't in subject, like the scientific method, how much they got paid, if they bought the Lexus. Like, why were you arguing for 30 minutes about who signed a contract? Why?
Well,
So,
in
more of it
some
tomorrow and
ways,
Friday.
if I was the jury though, and I didn't know a thing about trial one, I would be somewhat interested in him not knowing whether they've received any money yet. He's the vice president. You would think after all this time that if the CW hadn't paid them any money, not even a down payment or whatever they'd agreed to, that his people, his accountants would have come to him by now and said something. Why was he being sketchy about that? You know, I don't know. In some ways, it kind of made him look bad. So
It seems nefarious to me.
It's nefarious. It's very nefarious. as Shauna says, I'm very surprised in this testimony. It's way worse than I ever could have imagined. Bert says they all change their testing. Give me a break. I have grave concerns. Yes. Well, Julie, thank you so much for your math and your science education and for walking us through all of this testimony tonight. That was just fantastic. Great analysis. Thank you, everybody live with us in our chat, all of our friends of Social Change Warriors in our friend zone and our justice seekers. Thank you also so much for coming live tonight. And replay, thank you. Make sure you give us please subscribe if you haven't already and like us when you can. It really helps the algorithm, I've been told, the little that I know about all of this YouTube. But again, we are not monetized. So this is simply to get attention on our victims that we're standing for, that we're advocating for, and their families that we spend a lot of Wednesdays and Thursdays introducing you to and advocating for them for justice and for justice for John O'Keefe and freeing Karen Read. So thanks, everybody. Julie, thank you so much. Thank you, blog. Thank you for helping us, prove and disprove what we were trying to talk about.
No evidence to support and not support. But okay, so tomorrow is a half day for the jury. Bev said that she's going to try to go until 1:30 and hope that the cross is done, because he said that he's halfway done with his cross, which is just wild to me, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, Welcher was extra combative, so maybe that'll go faster. And then Hank has his redirect, so it looks like it's going to go until Friday. But I wore my I don't know if you can see this. I wore my Jaws shirt.
Oh,
because I'm pretty sure that Alessi is going to continue to rip this guy apart.
Yes.
And then Arco, the defense, is going to come in and rip his whole. I mean, it's not. He doesn't even have a theory. His theory is whatever this guy did, go with it.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
well,
I didn't go by what Trooper Paul said. So
a lot of people on social media have been kind of opining over who are they going to call first. I mean, it's a tough call because you kind of want to go backwards because you want the jury to remember. There's so many weeks of testimony, so you almost want to go back and undo some damage from the earlier ones so that the jury remembers. But in some ways, you kind of want to come out swinging. Pardon that, because that's what happened, John. But you kind of want to come out swinging, and maybe you want to put Arca up right now and just debunk all of this while it's super fresh in the jury's mind, and then go backwards. I don't know. What do you guys think in the live tonight? And what do y'all think on replay? I'd be curious to know. And we'll be back tomorrow night. I will be off because it's Mom Solin's birthday. So I'm off tomorrow night. We will not live stream, but we'll be back with Friday Night Lies. And Calling Out Corruption will be back next Thursday once I'm back in my home office. But for this week, we'll see you back here. Hopefully, we'd love to have you. So please join us back for Friday Night Lies at, do you want to go 8 or 9 on Friday, Julie?
Can you do 8? Because it's going to be a lot.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot.
We can do 8 p.m. Eastern, Friday Night Lies. Join us, everyone, if you can make it. If not, glad to have you in the replay. Thanks again to everyone who cares about justice, who cares about calling out corruption and stopping the corruption in police and government, because it's just very hard to do, first of all. And I'm going to play Friday Night Lies when we start. I'm just going to play a brief clip of something that I said, because I don't want to repeat myself. I'm just going to play it from it was Sarah Ebersol's last live that I did, where I was updating everyone on her case. She's still the missing mother out of Marion County, Florida. She's been missing for 2 years, 2 months, and X amount of days now, almost 3 months, almost 2 years and 3 months that she's been missing. And they are no closer to arresting anybody, in my humble opinion, after reading the 31 pages of redacted police report they gave me, talking to a sergeant, a lieutenant, and a captain in the last 5 months. They are no closer to solving this than they ever were. And it's incredibly depressing. So talked a little bit about what it takes out of you to stand for victims of crime and injustice, and when police aren't solving the cases and you're concerned why they're not, and in the cases where we can just see the corruption but we can't prove it. So I'm just going to play a little bit of that from my live stream a couple weeks ago for you guys, because I think it's a really good reminder all the time of why we stand for victims of crimes and why we stand for families who are trying to make it every day with no justice for their loved ones, and their cases continue to go unsolved, even though in most cases we know who did it. There's just not enough evidence to convict or for them to go to trial. And it's a very difficult task for the loved ones of these families to live on. It's just a burden and that they have to bear while their cases are basically sitting in limbo. So I just want to kind of honor them. And I'll play a little bit of that for you when we start out on Friday Night Lives before we get back into the circus, the magic act that has now become the CW's case. It's maddening. But thank you, Julie. Appreciate you.
That man is a stuntbull.
Okay, my job tomorrow, since I'm off in between Mom Solon's birthday celebration, is I must learn how to use the sound bar so that we can have some of Julie's golden girls when we need them, and any other sound effects that you would all like. I love Emily D. Baker's soundboard. It's great. So I have to figure out how to do that. I will learn. I'm learning a little bit more all the time on StreamYard. So, all right, everyone, have a wonderful rest of your very late Wednesday night, and we'll see you Friday night for Friday Night Lives. I'm going to play us out with our theme song, My Life Mattered, Justice Seekers. And it always gets me happy to listen to that song because I'm so proud of all of you for following these cases and caring enough about victims of crimes. Love you all.
Night,
Be well.
everybody.
Good
Ground
night.
wasn't frozen.
The ground wasn't frozen. It's just us. My life mattered.
They try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge of name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives we can't just weep. Elected power but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they try to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight. The heroes undo the harm. Calling out corruption, we'll stand tall for justice and truth, we'll risk it all. My